Hello and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Andy McNamara. We are doing, I believe by the way, I am so lost. I believe this is our 7th show from home, which is crazy. I could be wrong because that's how long we've been doing this that I'm losing track of time. I don't even know what day it is most times. So welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. On this week's episode of the Game Informer Show, we're going to talk about Grounded, the new cover story for the Game Informer magazine. It's made by Obsidian Entertainment, and we're excited about it. And we're going to talk to Jeff Cork about that. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. And then we're also going to talk about XCOM Chimera Squad and talk to Ben Reeves.
Yep, I'm here.
And Leo, you've played all these games.
I am a jack of all trades.
That's good. That's excellent.
Thank you.
We like people with multiple trade skills here on the Game Informer Show. Before we head down the path, if you like the show and our content, please follow us, like the content, hit the bell, get reminders, follow us on your favorite podcast app. We really appreciate the support. We like making the show. We hope you enjoy listening to it. And so without further ado, we will begin the show with Grounded. So, Jeff.
Yes.
Grounded. I think we should talk about, before we talk about Grounded, it's funny because everyone in the office knew once there was a game that featured small people in a big world, that you would be thrilled about it. Tell us about your fascination.
I love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing. And I assure you, nothing sexual about it. I don't fantasize about a big lady stepping on my face or something like that. There's nothing to do with that. Don't make that very clear. I just like the setup of being like a little guy around normally like human-sized objects. It's always been like something I'm really into in games. It's the best.
How long? I loved being a kid.
How long was the decision-making process for who would do this cover? Was it even 1 second?
It was instantaneous.
Yeah.
Instantaneous. Yeah. I mean, it's rare you have someone who really, really loves this ideal as much as Jeff does to have them available.
Yeah. It really worked out nicely.
So can you tell us, where does this fascination for this begin? Do you know, is it like where this started for you? Where did this journey begin?
I think the first time that I saw it in a game that I really liked was probably Super Mario Brothers 3. There's that level where Mario's in the world and he's smaller than normal and all this stuff is big, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is exactly what I want this whole game to be. But unfortunately, it's just one level. It's kind of like the Karibo's shoe. Yeah.
So do you enjoy like when you're like, oh, that's not an object I'm concerned about, and then all of a sudden like an eraser can kill you? Is that the thrill? Like that things that were once not dangerous now are dangerous?
To be honest, I haven't thought about it this closely ever. It's just one of those things because it's like you either think cilantro is delicious or you think it tastes like soap. That's how it is with like a little guy in a big world. I'm like, yeah, I love it. That's what I want.
Are you also like blown away by just big things? Like if you go into a museum and they have that model of a whale, are you like, whoa, look how big it is? Or is it specifically that used to be tiny and now it's
absolutely
big?
I like that. I like the a little tiny bottle of Tabasco that you get on a flight. I like that. But I also like a really big bottle of Tabasco. I just like stuff, I guess, ultimately at different scales.
Okay.
I also like big guy in a little world too. That's fun, but not as much as little guy in a big world.
Yeah.
Underdog.
It's an underdog tale, exactly.
So, like, I remember a game on a television. I can't remember the name right now. Where you shrunk down enough where you were inside a person, and you and you like fought them with like pills and stuff to fight off viruses. A classic, and that goes in that same way. So, like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, best movie of all time.
I don't know about that. It's fine. I like looking at parts of it, though, for sure.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Now that we've gone on this weird tangent, tell me about Grounded. What's it all about?
Well, basically, it is a little guy in a big world survival game. So you wake up and you've been shrunken down to, they said, about a centimeter high. And at that scale, bugs are a huge threat, and like finding components to live is really difficult. And then basically it's kind of a mystery in there too, and the goal is to find a way to bring yourself back to your normal form. And it's a co-op game, so up to 4 people can play together. And I actually played with Leo and Reeves.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Yeah, what an amazing coincidence that we're all in the show together here.
We got
almost
written
like it
into
was
the
planned.
cover story,
Yeah, exactly.
which was fun.
Yeah.
And I thought I didn't write you saying, duh, my name is Ben Reeves.
Which I was constantly doing.
Constantly saying.
Yeah, throughout
No.
their gameplay.
Yeah, but it's a survival game, so obviously the big emphasis there is finding ways to like quench your thirst and stay full, and then also running around finding crafting components so that you can build a shelter, equip yourself with armor, better weapons, so you can fight increasingly tougher bugs and that kind of thing. So, but the whole time you're in this backyard and you don't know how you got there, and you're able to explore it. And there's like, at that scale, as you might imagine, the backyard is huge, and there's a lot of places you can go. And it's, I don't know about you guys, Leo. I know that you've played it a bunch as well too. I think maybe a little more than Ben did because Ben pieced out.
Yeah, it's like, gotta go.
Right.
Exactly, but I think the yard has a lot of personality and a lot of really interesting kind of showcase places, and yeah, it's really fun to explore it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say full on biomes, but they're definitely like, okay, here's the dry grass area, and like here's the giant water feature that you can kind of like jump on leaves across. But all of it's, I think there's always just like more to it than meets the eye at first, from what I discovered. Like you're cutting down trees like any survival game, except here they're grass stalks, and you're getting grass planks to build stuff with. But they're also just such physical objects that you can jump on top of them and use them to traverse and like jump from the top of each grass plank to the other because they're kind of bent over and they form natural bridges. But then if a bug knocks one down, then that way that you were getting from one place to another is just gone. Like it's the way they've built it from the ground up seems really interesting. Ground up. Thank you.
It also seems to be pretty clever about how they allow for the collaboration between like different people. And I don't play a ton of like survival games, but with this one was neat because like Leo, you had jumped in and you set out a blueprint for us to start building a base. And then that showed up in our world. We could see like the ghostly silhouettes of like what was needed still. So it's like, all right, well, I'm going to hack down this grass and like bring these planks over, grass planks, which is a weird thing to say. But I'm going to bring these over and like help build the shelter. So
And
it was, like,
as
really,
you, like-
I thought really smooth.
As you put in the twine, the woven fiber, that appears. As you put in the grass planks, those appear like one by one in the little blueprint you've set up. And of course, yeah, again, like any survival game that has co-op, you can play it single player and you can build, or you can play it with 4 people and your structures will just fly up. Like everything will go so much faster, but they do scale the difficulty of the enemies based on how many people are playing. So that's the trade-off there.
Yeah.
I didn't notice. It seemed pretty, I was pretty good at it. So I didn't notice the challenge.
So do you like trade items with each other or just help each other build the items within the world?
You can trade and like drop items that other people can pick up. And I know like that Leo, you early on kind of ventured off to the side a little bit. There's like a giant tree off in one part of the yard, and you got a bunch of acorns and other materials that we hadn't acquired at that point. You were able to like craft some pretty solid armor for us, and then you ran back and just dropped all this stuff that we could then use while we were assembling the base that you laid out the blueprints for. Basically doing all the work in a lot of ways.
Some way to put it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
enemies are really tough, and I think it's interesting in the early game how going for those acorns, getting to that tree, I had to like carve my way through this spider's nest without aggravating any of them because they're incredibly strong when you don't have strong armor. So it's like figuring out a way to get the rarer materials without being able to just cut down any enemy in your way. That's an interesting part about the early game for sure.
So was there anyone who isn't like a survival game player that this was their first experience that they could comment on?
This wasn't my first experience, but I mean, like I said, I'm not like a crazy survival game player, but it's neat. I mean, even just the element that Cork loves. I'm not like a huge small guy in a big world, but it is still neat to have that element of like, oh, we walked up, we saw an empty pop can, and we were able to like walk inside the pop can. You're like, this is kind of cool. Like we could set up a base inside of this area, and it'd be pretty well defended, and Just that idea of building up your home and fending off wild animals, which in this case are all bugs, and the worst of which is the spider, which is just incredibly terrifying. Which, I already hate spiders, but now they're bigger than me, so it's even worse.
I am not afraid of bugs, but it is a problem how scary these bugs are to me. Like when you round the corner and you aren't expecting to see one, and one with giant glowing red eyes is bearing down on you and chasing you. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah,
and I mentioned it in the story, and I think I'm gonna have a feature on the site a little later about it. But they do have, like, there's some sensitivity about that very fact that there are people that have real issues with spiders, and they've got in the options menu something called arachnophobia mode. That it's still a work in progress, but it's going to be replacing the spider's model with something vague enough to where it gets across the idea that it's a spider, but for people that have an immediate visceral reaction to seeing spiders, even in a game, won't necessarily turn them off, or at least that's the goal.
That's really cool, actually, that they would take the time to deal with someone's phobia like that. That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, I was really surprised because, like, when we first started playing, Leo was like, "What does a spider look like to you?" And I didn't really fully understand the question because it's eight legs. It's got a big butt.
Classic spider.
Smaller front. But he's like, "Oh yeah, it looks like two orange orbs to me." And it's still a work in progress, so we don't have like screens of it that we can share at this point. But
yeah,
it is kind of an abstract representation of a spider, and they're working with like Microsoft's research lab, and they're working with like an expert on phobias to kind of find out what exactly it is about spiders that freaks people out, and how can they take enough of that stuff out while again keeping like hitboxes and everything there so people can fight it, because like it has 8 legs, which is a large part of that creature's mass, so you got to have something that conveys like you can attack here and hurt this thing that doesn't look like a spider.
Yeah,
that was like an interesting part of the cover story, actually, because they were just like trying to figure out like, can we just make them super cartoony or just like tone it down so it's not as scary looking a spider? And like the experts are like, well, I mean, if it looks kind of like a spider, people are gonna hate this thing. Like this thing looks like a spider. Like,
that's my thing. My initially hearing about this, it was like, I mean, are you going to implement enough of a safe mode that somebody who's afraid of bugs would be comfortable playing this game? Like, I don't know how you could really cross that bridge, but I think that's where their creative mode comes in, is where you don't have to deal with those threats and you more just get the pure joy of exploring the world from that tiny perspective.
Yeah, we spent a fair amount of time in there just trying to build like the biggest bases we could build, and did some weird stuff that. It's a work in progress, and we may have broken the game in a really fun way that will probably be fixed. But we had like a couple of like trampoline-like things, and then if you jumped on one, it would like knock the other one up, and it would like very slowly, like over the course of like 10 or 15 minutes, Leo and I are just like slowly rising above the world, so we could get like a really great vantage point of the whole backyard, which was a real treat.
Yeah. They were like, "Oh no, I can't. What did you guys do?"
Oh, no. I want to thank Obsidian for sending us copies to play because of our, at home situation. Like, it was very generous of them to do that and to trust us to not make a glitch compilation.
Well, it sounds like you abused it a little bit, but
a little bit, but it was very fun, and so I'm
absolutely. And the cool thing about those, like, it is scaled at that like tiny, like I said, 1 centimeter high guy, but the backyard looks like a backyard when you're way up looking at it from above. Like it's strange how it does convey that sense. It doesn't look like a weird assortment of just random things thrown around and like, close enough. It looks like it's a disrepair. It's not the best backyard I've seen.
Yeah, but it's cool how just like a knocked over flower pot is this giant landmark that you'll get marked on your map when you discover it.
Yeah, that's cool. I also, to point out, I have one comment about the spider thing, is I love the idea that they're going to spend all this time creating spiders that don't look like spiders, and then you're going to turn the corner and there's going to be a snake that's just a snake, and they don't even think about it, and people like freak out because it's a snake.
Giant rat.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of phobias out there. It'd be hard to cover them all, right? I'm sure there's someone who's like, I'm afraid of flower pots.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's a flower pot.
Yeah.
You need a centipede phobia mode, because I hate those things just as much, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the millipedes that have like they're very creepy, crawly. That's for sure. But that's a cool mode. So when you play the survival version of it, is it something that you just like kind of keep returning to, or is it one where you like make a run, you die, and you start over? What is that loop?
You keep returning to it. So your inventory that you're carrying drops, and you can pick up your backpack. I should say too, the conceit too is that you are playing as one of 4 kids, so that it is definitely not shying away from comparisons from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, even though, talking to the team, that may have been like an easy reference point in the beginning, but the scale is a lot different and everything. But so the kids, you can pick up your backpack so you don't lose all of your inventory when you die. It seems more story driven than a lot of survival games are also, which at the demo that we were playing, we got kind of right on the edge of seeing what appeared to be a fairly large revelation of what's going on, but there's still a lot that's unspoken. But you do have like a narrative pushing you along, not just get off the island, which seems to be kind of like the driving force for a lot of survival games out there. So they're like playing into their strengths at Obsidian. They said, like, we like to tell stories. So that's certainly, it's not an RPG in a conventional way, but that's a focus of the game as well.
What I like about the kids is like they have like pretty basic names, right? One of them is Max, and I don't know what, Chris or something. But like one of the girls' names is Hoops, which I think is charming and fun.
I don't believe that's on her birth certificate, though. They wouldn't show it to me. She's a fan of basketball, which is either an astounding coincidence or it might be a nickname.
Yeah, prophetic.
So to your point that like, Obsidian has a history of making RPGs, and this is really a pivot for them. Can you talk a little bit about what they said about why they chose Grounded as a direction?
Yeah, for sure. They were like early on. This is kind of like a team within a team. So like the entirety of the game is being built by about like 13 people or around that. They share some like tech resources and everything. People will kind of drift in and out, but that core team is fairly small. And Adam, the game director, was saying that survival games are always something that RPG game makers are always kind of fascinated with, because there is a fair amount of overlap between the genres. And that's something that they've internally wanted to mess around with for a long time, and they've had some like a failed prototype, or not a failed prototype, but one that didn't really get off the ground.
Yeah.
And they've experimented it within the studio, and I think it was just kind of lightning struck with, they had worked on something that they thought was pretty fun at a prototype phase, and also the conceit of being, shifting the perspective around like this just is a really interesting thing, because it like I told him, I said, it feels like you're cheating in a lot of ways, because you could just immediately see, oh, this could be that, like these materials would be really interesting, and like these would be your enemies. It just kind of falls into place very easily, rather than if you were like, okay, you're on a deserted island again, here's what you got to do. So I think it all kind of just lined up for that. There's something that they've wanted to tackle for a long time.
Yeah, it's like this cool ecosystem that immediately makes sense to you, even though you haven't really seen it done in a game to this level before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of instinct as far as how things will work, or what it would do, or what tool it would give you if you
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff too that they said that you might immediately think, oh yeah, this would be in there, but then it like creates all kinds of technical issues. Like 2 things that spring to mind pretty quickly are like weather, which is always a big part of survival games. They do have like a day-night cycle and everything as you'd expect, but they're like, what, we don't know how we handle things like rain, because rain would have to be a physical object at this scale, right? And is it fun to get completely like pounded by a drop of rain and now you're dead and you didn't see a raindrop coming? Or would you be able to drink it if it came down? Like just things like that. Or like people were like, oh, there should be a dog in the yard. It's like, oh boy, that thing would be the largest what I mean? Like, what do you do? How would you animate that? What does that even look like?
When the dog poops in the yard, the game's over. You can't get over it. It's too big.
Exactly. Then it's immediately M-rated.
Yeah,
I think that moves beyond comic mischief.
And the speed at which something like that could move around relative to you is hard to deal with, for sure. Like they're already trying to balance bees and how they make sense when bees move so fast relative to you. It's like one could get just out of your line of sight while you're lining up a shot with a bow or something. But those are very temp. Yeah, we talked about that when I was like putting together the gameplay. Which, by the way, I want to say that we have a lot of gameplay going up later this month.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and I agree. The water would be like instant drowning, essentially, as well. Like basically. So
yeah, you do get there are things like if you look at a blade of grass, you'll see like dewdrops occasionally. If you like run into it, the drop will fall down and you can drink it, or you can like walk into it. It's like this blob of water that you can like kick around a little bit. So
That's fun.
it's fun just to mess around with stuff in there.
Wouldn't you? You're so small. Shouldn't you be able to like walk on water at that point? Because bugs can basically just sit on water, right?
Yeah,
There is some late game gear that may help with that.
Really?
Yeah, that we only saw in creative mode. We didn't get anywhere near in our survival experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's size. I think it's surface area versus tension that makes you walk. Not to be all that, but you're right. It would be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of surface area. That's probably why I don't.
So when is the game coming out?
Well, the game is coming. It's going to be an exclusive PC and Xbox release, and it's going to be in early access and game preview on July 28th.
Excellent.
So you'll be able to check it out then, and they are really all about getting feedback from the community. So, like, if there are story elements, even something as fundamental as that people glom onto, they're really excited about kind of expanding things that people are interested in, which I think is an interesting way to make a game. I hope that that they have they follow their hearts also, and it's not just the noise of the crowd. And but yeah, we'll see.
So is this going to be a complete game when this happens at this point, and they're gonna like add on more as they?
Yeah, the story is not gonna be the complete story when it goes into that early access.
Okay, gotcha.
It will end at some predetermined place, which I believe will be farther along than what we played. But even the build that we were messing around with, I mean, you could play for hours and hours and hours and just exploring and checking out different places and finding weird stuff. So,
and you guys all seem pretty excited. Do you know what I mean? I think there's going to be people out there that are like, "That's not the game I want. I'm not interested in this." What do you have to say to get people excited about this game? Like, why are you guys so like? What's the fun other than I guess for you, Jeff? It's just
yeah. I think that ultimately some games just aren't for you, and that's fine. I think that this appeals to me a little more than a lot of the hardcore survival stuff. I think the setting obviously plays a large part in it, but I think an emphasis on more of a story, so that you're working towards something ultimately, and not just finding the flare gun that's in a lockbox, which is in a sealed vault, which it doesn't have electricity. You know what I mean? I like the idea of something pushing you forward, that central mystery of why am I here? How did I get here? Did this to me? Whose backyard is this? It has some potential for an interesting story.
It's kind of like you're mentioning Obsidian's storytelling focus, but also a lot of survival games, maybe this is just my opinion, feel kind of mature in a sense, or whether or not they're M-rated, they just feel very serious, where this is kind of lighthearted. You're kids, you're in a backyard, you're super small. And then just again, the Obsidian thing, why I'm curious about it is kind of what is the storytelling elements they're bringing to it, because I don't play a ton of survival games, mostly because I like something that have a well-crafted story. So I'm kind of curious how they tackle that. So I'm going to check it out when it comes out.
Very cool.
And for me, I really appreciate how self-driven it is. You can go through the menus of what you can possibly craft, and there's so many different things you could focus on as far as okay, let's see if we can get what we can need to have a mushroom garden so that we're always getting food every day, or if we take down one of these giant bugs, we can have the pieces for this gear that'll help us fight even stronger bugs. And the gear that you get, a ladybug armor, has bonuses to specific things, blocking strength is ladybugs, or there's a stamina for the grub stuff, so you can kind of choose your path that way based on what kind of perks you want. It feels like there's a lot to it, and that's very readable and easy to tell, okay, I can see that if I focus on this, I will get this out of it, and that's what I want to do in this in-game day. And that always feels great to me in these kinds of games.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, a lot of fun. We're excited to have it on the cover. I think it's actually, I really like the cover. I like it when we get some different flavors. I think it looks really cool and fun. And like you said, I think sometimes we get real serious about video games, and then sometimes it's supposed to be fun, and it can be all kinds of things. I mean, people love Pixar movies because they go back and explore our youth, and then sometimes when people do it in games, they're like, and I'm like, what's the difference, right? I think if you can make something fun, something's fun. So
yeah, and that spider will kill you over and over again, and it's so hard. So if you
don't worry,
good luck.
All right. So another kind of surprise this last month was XCOM Chimera Squad. that I certainly didn't know was coming. Can you tell us some about that, Ben Reeves?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising. I found out about it like a couple of days before it was announced, and it was like, wait, what? Like another XCOM game? What is this thing? And I'm a huge XCOM fan, so I was immediately intrigued, and now I've already played it. So it's just kind of like that's kind of what I always enjoy is like here's a game I didn't even know existed like 2 weeks ago, and now I'm already playing it, which is fun. So yeah, it's XCOM, but they've changed up quite a lot in this entry. If you've watched the trailers, you're probably already aware. I think the biggest change is the inner 11, is that how they say it? Turns. It was basically interwoven turns where one of your character attacks and then an enemy will attack and then your character will get a turn to attack, which is very different from how previously XCOM it was like your turn, all of your units go, all right, now it's the enemy turn. That's how it used to work, but that changes up the strategy quite a bit, I feel like, just because previously you were able to like, all right, I have my 5-6 units, whatever, I can do all these moves, and you kind of plan out your move and try to wipe away as many enemies as you can, whereas now I only have one guy to move. What's the most damage I can do? Can I take out this guy who's going next, and then I don't have to worry about him? So that kind of changes the strategy, but it adds a new twist on the strategy because a lot of units have abilities that will move up an enemy attack, or excuse me, you move up one of your attacks, or like slow down an enemy attack. So it's a lot of like playing with the timeline there, which I like, but I do feel like it also kind of removes some of the strategic elements of like being able to play off of all of your units at once. I don't know, Leo, I know you've played. Has that been kind of your experience?
Yeah, it's all about looking at that turn order and trying to use it to your advantage, for sure. I like it a lot. I think the other biggest change from XCOM is now enemy friendlies don't die permanently. They're all named characters, and if they die, you have to restart the mission, which is a huge change from like Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2. And
so you don't create your characters at all. Like you can't really
Right.
customize them very much, which I'm sure some people are going to be kind of disappointed by. I liked, I'm kind of conflicted about it.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your take on it, but yeah, like you can't tweak your characters, like you can't change their armor very much other than color. It's kind of nice that they have a voice, but yeah, I kind of miss that tension of like this guy's gonna die. That's a big deal.
I will say I like the writing. I like the characters, and there are some interesting or very organic feeling reveals that happen as you're kind of doing the investigations that make the story play out, like related to the characters. I think that stuff's well done. But yeah, that's so core to XCOM, and to not have it here, it just feels, I don't know, a little safer, maybe? I like having real consequences, and they're kind of not there.
Yeah. My question is, so when you said that you have to restart when one of these characters dies, is that a forced restart, or is that a choice you made that because they're dead and it makes the game hard, I need to restart?
It's
or is it
forced.
like a game over? It's a game over condition.
Yeah, it's game over condition. You have to reload.
Okay.
They do have like a new thing where like your characters can bleed out now. So, it used to be like your character gets to 0 hit points and they're just dead. And it's permadeath in previous XCOM games. This time they get to 0 hit points and they bleed out for 3 turns. So you have 3 turns to get to them and like stabilize them and prevent them from dying permanently. But if you fail to do that, then it's game over. So they kind of cushioned it a little bit. So it's like, I've found I haven't had too many situations where I had to restart my game entirely because I'm usually able to get to the guy and stabilize him. But it is kind of like, even without that, it's still kind of losing some of its punch of just like, oh, this character I built up for like 10 hours and he's awesome. He just died. Like that's soul crushing, but in a way that I kind of enjoy,
Right.
like it's hard, but now like it kind of diminishes that tension of battle because I know, well, this guy, he's just going to come back next round because I stabilized him.
Yeah, I always love that aspect. I also loved it too in XCOM where sometimes you'd be like, this guy probably going to die. I'll name him Jeff Cork. He's not going to be that good. And then later in the game, you're like, Jeff Cork is the man, right? Like that is always kind of the fun thing too, that as characters develop, you find yourself relying on different people that maybe you didn't assume you would. And I think that's one of the charms of the original, design.
Totally.
But it does sound like though, with the kind of being able to almost in a sense have a counter, right? Because it has a turn order, is that, one of the things that always killed me in XCOM is you're like, oh, I'm going to look around this corner. What's in this door? And you'd come around that corner and there'd be 17 things. You wouldn't have another turn. And that next round, that person's dead. Like, there's no way that person's not dead because you made a mistake. Does that change at all? Is it more forgiving because of the turn-based or kind of, I guess, turn queue?
Yeah. I mean, the specific situation you mentioned, yes, that doesn't happen. I will say that the game is, so maybe it's more forgiving in that sense, but I will say that the game is still has an XCOM level of challenge to it. Like, there's still moments where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in an impossible situation here. And sometimes you're able to like pull that out of your hat and be like, wow, that was awesome. I don't know how I pulled that off, but it's great that this like 30% chance shot nailed it and went critical and saved the day. And like, good job, Jeff Cork. Although I can't name him that, but in my heart, he's Jeff Cork. So yeah, I would still say it's not more forgiving in the sense that it's like an easier game. I'd still say like, if you love the XCOM challenge, it's still here. They
almost use the not being able to permanently ruin your campaign in one mission. They almost use that as an excuse to make it harder. Sometimes it feels like, since you can just keep trying over and over again. I will say I ticked the little Iron Man box, as I like to do in these games, because it'll make it so you can't roll back your save. So you kind of have to stick with consequences that way. And I thought that might kind of fill in the gaps I was worried about not having permanent consequences. But what ended up happening was that I got to this mission that I didn't realize how hard it would be, and I didn't bring any of my support people, and I'm just stuck in this mission that I can't beat, and I can't change the difficulty unless I'm out of the mission. I could theoretically have brought different people that I might be able to beat it with, but I can't back out to the kind of hub area. So I'm just stuck in this mission I can't beat, and I just have to like hope they patch it so you can back out of a mission and change who you're bringing. Otherwise, I just have to start the game over at this point. So a bit of a warning about Iron Man mode, I guess. That was disappointing because I have been enjoying
terrifying. It. Yeah. So tip number 1, don't play Iron Man mode.
Maybe your second time through if you really want a challenge.
All right. So how long does it take you to play through the game?
It was over 20 hours for me, which, I think War of the Chosen took like almost 40 hours, which was ridiculous. So, but it still feels like a substantial game, especially for the price point, because it's only, at least this first week, it's like $10, which is, when they announced that, I was a little bit worried. I was like, oh, wait a minute, $10 game, is this going to be a real game? But it is. It's a full game, like over 20 hours. Like, it's a substantial strategy game. I thought it's good. If you get it the first week, it's $10. If you wait, it'll be 20 later.
And some replayability too, for sure. Like, you get the choice to add people to your squad, and you choose one of 3. And if you don't choose, you choose one, and then the other 2 you don't see the rest of the campaign. Yeah. As far as I understand. And also how the story progresses. There's 3 main investigations you have to do, and you can tackle those in any order.
Yeah, it is interesting because I never got there's 11 characters total, and I never got a demolitions guy. So I went through most of the game not being able to, grenades were such a like staple of my strategy in the old XCOM games, and I just didn't have that. So it kind of forced me to find a different tactic, let's say. But I ended up liking that. Like I said, like all the characters are very different. So each one you get has a different mechanic. There's one guy who's like a pistol, specialist, and he'll be able to fire twice or something. Or the cool thing, I don't know if we mentioned too, is like you can play as aliens. So it's a city that's full of humans and aliens. So some of the characters you get were aliens that you were fighting in previous games. There's like that snake monster. So it's kind of cool to use her, and she can grab people with her tongue, suck them to you, and then she'll like, choke them out. So that's pretty cool. So it's fun. One of the things I really liked was being able to play as those aliens finally for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
To say my biggest complaint about it is I think tactics games, thank you XCOM Enemy Unknown for getting me into tactics games in the first place and for doing so much for that genre. But like Into the Breach is a perfect tactics game where you can totally read everything that's going to happen and hover over an enemy and see what they're going to do, which isn't super necessary, but just so you know what's going on. And I think that's where this game kind of falters. You'll have status effects on enemies that are a specific symbol, and you hover over them and it does nothing, and you have to pause and go to the XCOM handbook and then go down to the right category of status effect and then count over 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's the symbol and then count down this list 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's what it correlates to. It's ridiculously hard, and like for a tactics game that should just present that stuff to you. That's where it becomes frustrating for me.
Leo and I, we were talking earlier too, is like, well, I have this character and it looks like I'm supposed to do like 3 points of damage to this guy, and then I'll do it, and it only does 2, and you're like, well, why is that? And I think it's because they have armor. But like you would think going in, I don't know. You're right. They could clarify that a little bit more as you're like, it looks like I'm gonna do this much damage, but you have to internally do the math. Like, no, he has armor, so it's only gonna be 2, that kind of stuff.
It's either they have armor,
better if they just told you,
or it's like this shot will do 3 to 4. It's a 50-50 shot, and it always shows 4 blocks of health flashing, like that's what's about to be taken off. And when that doesn't happen, that is a really frustrating like learning curve before you figure that out. Like that's the kind of thing where you need to know exactly what you're going to do in a tactics game, exactly what happens if you hit this shot, and it doesn't really present that well.
You mean like the 99% shot that you take and it always misses?
That's fine. That's part of the joy. That's part of the magic.
So your review is up on the site, right, Ben?
Yeah, it should be by this time.
And by this time, excellent. So what?
Or you can fire me, I guess.
Let's not get extreme here.
Oh, I'm sorry. 99%.
Worth mentioning.
Review.
I mean, like reviews can be late. It's okay. We're not freak out on anybody. So what did you decide to give it? Have you come to a score?
Yeah, I'm sitting at an 8 right now. I don't think that'll change too much before release, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
so I mean, I really like it. Overall, I kind of where I landed is like, I really love the XCOM series. I think it's a great series, and I think they took something great and made something good out of it. So just kind of like a little bit of a step down for a lot of the reasons we just explained, but it is like an interesting experiment, and I'm glad Firaxis gave us this something, because if you're just hungry for a strategy game, this is a good strategy game to play. It just doesn't reach the heights of the XCOM series as we've known it so far.
So was the game designed at Firaxis, or was it a different group that worked on it?
Yeah, it's at Firaxis. It's Jake Solomon, who's kind of been the head of XCOM for a while. He's not involved, so I think he's probably got a team that's working on XCOM 3. This is all presume. They haven't announced anything.
Yeah.
So I think this is a separate team within Firaxis that spun off and decided to put this out.
It's very cool, and it's also of note that we go lots of time without getting these kind of strategy games, and then all of a sudden we have this, which came out of the blue, and then also Gears Tactics is happening very shortly as well, which we can't talk about
in
yet.
like a week.
But it is around the corner, and so it's all of a sudden it's Gears and Tactics Mania, so and XCOM. So it's good to see those games and those types of games available. I know there's a lot of fans out there. But I think we'll talk about Gears Tactics next week. It's going to be my guess. Hopefully we can get past the embargo and get a chance to discuss that game, as I know we have some people in the office playing it. Can't comment, but I think there's a lot of excitement, let's say, around tactics games right now. So that's good. So one last thing here for the game segment, which I should bring this up. One of the things I do read your YouTube comments, and if you have any comments about the show, please podcast at GameInformer.com. Questions for us to answer, or any of our games that we play in the silly section. But one of the big requests was that we talk about games more on the show, and and they were like, "Oh, get rid of the community section." And the thing is, I can't really do that. I think there's a lot of people that like either side. I think the thing is that we make very clear, that we're in the game talk section, and then we get to the the fun section. So at that point, feel free to turn it off if you don't want to hear us, be silly. But I really enjoy the community section. Well, that's true. But I think the community section is a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it, and the whole team does here. So, and I think it's an important part of the podcast. But I don't think you're missing anything. You don't go there, other than the fun is what you'd be missing. So, but I have one last topic I wanted to go through, which was there's rumors about there's going to be an Xbox event in May, which would be early. I think a lot of us have assumed that June, where E3 normally would be where we would start to see more next gen talk. And probably, it goes without fail, because we recorded this today, they'll announce that they're probably doing it in May tomorrow. So we sound like idiots. But I did think it was an interesting rumor. that was going around, and the rumor included they were going to maybe have another set of hardware that would be the kind of entry level piece of hardware that could be discussed. They call it Lockhart, is what they reportedly is the rumored name. And there were other games talked about. One of them I think was mentioned was Forza, which is like, no duh. Xbox is going to have a Forza at some point. They have a whole team dedicated to it. There's going to be a next gen Forza game. But you guys, so if there was an Xbox event, if there was something around the corner, what games would you want to see? What games are you excited about? What games are you excited to see as next gen games? Like what do you think, or what would a show like that? What would make that show spectacular to you? And we're making this up. We don't know anything. We're just kind of trying to guess as to what I want to know what these guys are excited about when we talk about a reveal like this.
Yeah. I mean, outside of game, we'll talk about games in a sec, but like, I'd be excited just to hear a price and a release date. I'm really like curious, like, is this actually going to be this year, and what the price is going to be?
Yeah.
But in terms of games, I think it's going to be on a lot of people's lists is Fable. Like, I love that series. It's been a long time since we've had a great one. There's been rumors for years now that they're working on one, that it's the Forza Horizon team. Like, and I think that's great. I think they're a good choice. And yeah, I'd love to see if it's actually true. And I'd love to see the game,
Yeah. I think with everyone, Sony kind of put out a bit of news that pointed to that they were going to have a limited access to the PlayStation 5 when it came out. A lot of people are talking about how COVID-19 has affected the supply chain and how we can get these things made. And I think that's a concern we all have. So that's a great point, Ben, in that, like, are they going to be able to get units out? How much will it be? Will it be at a premium price? And can we get one? I mean, I think that's another thing too. I hate it when it's too limited and that people have to pay twice that amount on like eBay or something like that to get a hold of one, which is just not a good consumer experience.
I remember when the Switch came out, which wasn't that long ago, I failed to pre-order it soon enough, and then I didn't get a pre-order, and then it was like me trying to hunt down a Switch on day one. And I was lucky enough to get one, but the supplies were low for that, and like that wasn't in the middle of a pandemic, so it's like, well, now it's going to be even worse, I'm sure.
I would agree with that, and I think that's the thing too. That's how many Switches they put out there that you could actually even go find one that way without having pre-ordered. I mean, I don't think there's going to be, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing here completely, but I think it's going to be, given the shortages that I think that are going to be, that it's going to be, you're going to win like raffles to get your copy from places rather than like go to a store and get it. I don't even think you're going to have that opportunity, but that's a guess of mine. How about you, Jeff Cork?
Well, you mentioned Forza, and I think that in a roundabout way kind of gets to what I would like to see is like, I think the Forza games are super fun, but I mean, other than just a garage update, I don't know where that series can go really. Like, it looks so phenomenal right now on like current hardware. Does. Because like racing games, traditionally those are your showcase games because you're on a track. So you can do some sneaky maneuvering to make things look even better than they might ordinarily look, But I wanted, this is a kind of cop out too. I would like to see what is not the expected Microsoft release, right? So I'm excited to see a new Fable game for sure. Somewhat ambivalent about another entry in the Halo series or whatever, but like I want them to show like their next big IP, because I think that a lot of times they just feel like they've been checking the boxes in many ways and just kind of hitting those dependable releases that they have and that people love and expect to see from them. But I want to see someone get on stage and show something amazing that we have not seen that just comes out of nowhere, because they've been acquiring all those studios. So I would love to see something come from it. And I don't know if it's going to be too early to see something that exciting, but yeah, that's what I'd like
maybe
to see.
More Hellblade 2 from Team Ninja, or not Team Ninja.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. Yeah. First person who's ever done that, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Also too, I think people would die to see the Outer Worlds too.
Oh yeah,
like that would be crazy if they had something like that early.
Yeah, I would like to see something that doesn't have a number in it though.
Yeah, like, I know what you're saying. New IP.
Yeah.
I agree. I think console generations, as they change, that's the opportunity to introduce. I think also too, by the way, I think a lot of third parties are going to introduce new IP in this transition period. So if Xbox, like at their E3 show, if this, and by the way, we don't know if this is kind of a replacement for their E3 show. E3 last year, they showed a ton of third-party games, right, for the first time. The first time we saw them was at that event. So, you could assume there will be a lot of maybe new IPs from third parties. That that would be, I think that would be a guess. I think Ubisoft loves new IP, right? When there's new hardware, new platforms. And I think maybe there'll be some other people that take some chances. But how about you, Leo?
Yeah, I'm a PC gamer. So people ridicule Xbox for like, why do I need an Xbox? You just put all your games on a PC anyway. I would like to publicly thank them for doing that. So I don't need to get an Xbox. So everything I'm mostly excited about from Microsoft probably won't come up in this Xbox panel. Like, I'm interested in what they do going forward with PC as they get more comfortable launching games simultaneously on Xbox and PC, and like even launching stuff on Steam. Yeah. Like Ori coming out same day on Steam as Xbox. I'd like to see them like put Game Pass on Steam. Like, I'd like to see that relationship deepen, but that's not realistic to get from an Xbox conference. So in general, I just want them to give more details on Halo and for it to get me excited about Halo again.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, and once again, it could be, I think it'd be fun if there is an event in May that I hope all the other players are kind of ready to go too. So it starts to like, it's a domino effect. Like once this starts and we get excited that it kind of keeps going. I think we had a discussion earlier in one of our kind of group meetings that was like, what's E3 going to be? Is it going to be, like in the past, it would be, 5 conferences all in one day. Because it's digital, are we going to see like 2 on the weekend and then the next weekend 2 more? Is it going to make like E3 be a whole like month-long experience? We don't know. I don't know. What do you guys want it to be longer or like shorter? I kind of want it to be shorter. I want it to be like an insane, super intense experience. But I think I'm probably doomed.
Isn't that what E3 is, though? An insane, super intense experience? At least for us, anyway.
It is, but I mean, that's what I like about it. If you talk about the things that I like about it, 2 days before E3 actually starts. My problem with E3 is E3 itself. But those 2 days of conferences, I think, are super fun, right? Like I love those days. So I like that it was like, here's EA, and EA would show stuff. Here's Ubisoft, and they would show other stuff. Here's Bethesda, and here's what they're gonna do, which I think they've already said they're not doing. I think a digital event. So it's like, that's fun, to kind of get that one after another.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
definitely fun for us.
Yes,
or for gamers. I just wonder if it's fun for the publishers, developers, and they probably feel like, oh, EA is stepping on our toes because we just announced this thing, and 2 hours later they announced a thing. So I wonder if people might want to, kind of like you were saying, spread it out a little bit more just so people have a little bit more time in the spotlight. So it's like, hey, maybe if we honor these people's announcement, they'll let us have a little bit more time in the spotlight.
Yeah,
maybe that's one theory. I mean, but I think I agree with you ultimately. It's like, it's more fun, and maybe it's better for the industry in a sense, because like this crazy game celebration.
It burns so bright, right? It's kind of hard to ignore. But you're probably right. People are going to give each other space. The publishers will talk to each other and say, when are you doing this? We're going to do this, these time frames.
Well, and that's what I'm interested in too, is there's been those rumors that Sony and Microsoft are basically just staring each other down and like, all right, who's going to go first? Like it's like high noon or something. And so if Microsoft finally does some big announcement on the console, maybe Sony wouldn't be that far behind. It's like, all right, finally we can announce our thing. We know what they're doing. We can strategize around it.
Yeah. And rumors too, they, I always like to point out, they can always be proven to be wrong. And sometimes too, it's great when they're wrong in the most obvious ways, in that like everyone heard it was going to be a hardware manufacturer and it's a different hardware manufacturer, that it's Sony that's going to go in May or so, you never really know, but it's fun to talk about. I like to think about what may or may not happen. So maybe we have some big next-gen news and software coming soon, and maybe we don't. I sure hope we do. I'm ready for more news. We're living at home. Get us the news. Get us some video. I want to see it.
Distract us.
Yeah, distract us. It's like a kitty on a desk, right?
Right. Mildly distracting.
Like that classic idiom.
We'll come back in just a couple minutes here and start our community section. We're going to play Kiss, Marry, Kill. We're going to talk about GI Town. We've got comments from you guys. We talk about ducks. There's all kinds of excitement to come. So hang in there and we'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Andy McNamara. We are still doing the show from home, so please excuse any digital hiccups that happen along the way, but we're excited to be here with you during this quarantine. Once again, we always like to put a big shout out to everyone out there who's still working at the front lines. You're heroes. We appreciate you. We're very lucky to be doing a podcast as our job and being able to do it from the safety of our homes. So thank you so much for all you do out there. And hopefully the podcast plays its small role in your lives and we can have a little fun talking about games, which is what we're going to do in this section. We're going to do community emails, some games, some silliness, and then we'll let you get back to your lives. So joining me in this second section is Ben Reeves. How you doing?
Hello. Good. Doing great.
Doing great. Excellent. All right. I see you got a stand. Your presentation is like the best it's ever been.
Yeah, upgrading every day. Trying a new camera angle, which I think is better. You don't have to look at my plants, and I got this.
Yeah, I mean you're well on your way.
Stepping up.
Yeah, 100%. And Jeff Cork, how are you doing?
Good. Still on the same trashy couch. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, but that's a very nice Freddy's Bar t-shirt you have on today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know. It's very nice. And Leo Vader, how are you doing?
Doing great. Recording long form stuff in the afternoon is always a gamble. It's like I'll set up the lighting at the start and it just completely changes as the sun sets out that window.
Yeah, that's I close all the shades and hide in the corner of my basement. So
smart.
Yeah, it kind of works. So I'm kind of washed out. I have my lights are too bright. I should probably control them a little bit. But what are you gonna do? We're
sheets of parchment and put it over the light bulb.
Yeah, that would be smart. That would be very smart. I'm not that smart.
That was Leo's idea. I was gonna use saran wrap. No, it won't work.
All right, so let's get right into the question. So, Andy and the GI crew, with a new generation of consoles coming later this year, I'm faced with a new dilemma: dwindling storage space. I've been gaming since the NES and have amassed a huge collection of systems, games, and handhelds. All of my old consoles and their games have been put into separate bins and are taking up a large portion of our spare bedroom. With a new generation of consoles, my current consoles will need to be put into new bins and take up even more space. I think I'm reaching the point where I just need to let some go. Outside of my SNES, which I stubbornly refuse to get rid of, good choice, by the way, I think I can emotionally let go of many of my old consoles. But should I? Have any of you? If you have, did you sell them to make a few bucks? Did you give them to someone who might appreciate them? Maybe donate them to GI's Extra Life show? And if you did get rid of them, did you regret it? Or did you simply find a better storage solution so you can hang on to them? I'd really love to know your suggestions. Thanks, Alan. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Great question, Alan, actually. For me personally, I have been struggling with this. I have a lot of game stuff. My office is overflowing at work. Here at home, I have a ton. My wife is driven crazy by how much game stuff I have in storage in our attic and in the basement. How about you guys? I'll ask you, Jeff Cork. You have I can see an arcade machine behind you.
Yeah. I have regretted every time I've gotten rid of the console.
Yeah.
So I would at least keep the consoles themselves, because you can, in most cases, replace the games, which is a pain depending on your collection and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. I like the fact that I was just looking around. I'm like, oh yeah, I have my Jaguar. Maybe because no one would have bought that at any point anyway. But like, I don't have my original NES anymore. Pick up another one years later, but I wish I had all those things from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But what would you do with them if you had them?
I would put them in boxes, which I have done what I do have. So like yesterday I was looking for an Ethernet cable, and I was digging through this like tub, and I was like, oh, here's where the blaster for my Master System is,
Uh-huh.
and here's like the controllers for my like the original Duke controller, so just like the miscellaneous bin or whatever. But I personally think it's fun to hang on to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, as a counter argument, I guess. I did eventually sell my old NES, Genesis, some of my old systems, just because I was moving around a lot, and it kind of got to the point of like I felt like they were a burden to have, keep moving them, and it got to the point where it's like, what am I gonna do with them? Like when I'm 80 years old, am I just gonna have a garage full of game equipment, which sounds like a cool 80-year-old guy, but at the same time, it's like if I'm not doing anything with it, it just felt like, why do I need this? It's a resource I could use for something else. And so I sold some of it and paid off some credit card debt, and which I thought at the time was very helpful to me. And I don't feel like I miss it as much as I worried I would. I have a SNES Classic. I have some ways to play old games if I really have a hunger for them. I think, if it means something to you, keep it. I'm not saying you have to get rid of it, but at the same time, if it's a burden and you don't have the space, like, maybe get rid of some of it. Try it out.
Leo, do you have any experience with parting with your game collections?
Yeah, but I was able to give my old PS3 to my sister and her spouse who don't game very much and wanted a console where they could like buy used games for super cheap.
Yeah.
And just play those. And so it's getting a lot of use over there, which makes me happy versus it gathering dust in my closet or me getting rid of it. So, I mean, doing something like that would be ideal, is like putting it in the hands of somebody who appreciates it more than you. But when you can't do that, I'm not too precious with it. I definitely try to be realistic about whether I'm actually ever going to use it again, which the answer is almost always no.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part. I mean, for me, I don't want to give it away, but I don't know that I'm going to play it again anytime soon. And I think that all comes from back in the old days, there would only be like 400 total NES games, right? That were available to me. I know there's more than that total now, but it was like, it felt like there was a finite number and it was realistic that I could get them and collect them. And now games are so just like crazy, and like with the remakes and just how many games come out at the rate that they do, it feels impossible to me. And I think it's changed my attitude some. Like I feel less like I need to collect them, and I just want to play them. And also too, the fact now that a lot of the games that are really great get a re-release or get a new way for me to access them or play them. And I'm like, I'll play Super Metroid on my Switch now. Do I still need that copy? Now, that said, I can see a copy of Super Metroid right out on my left eye here that I keep out and I keep on display because that game is really important to me. So maybe just try to pick out the stuff that's really, really, really important to you and keep it, and maybe shut off some of that stuff. But, I'm a hoarder. I would keep it all. Probably if I could, and like you were able to, I'd keep it. But
I like what you said there, though, is like maybe take the stuff that means the most and then display it rather than having everything packed away somewhere. Like keep the stuff that's meaningful and then like put it in a place of honor. It's like, this is special to me. That's kind of because I'm also like a comic fan, so I used to have like giant boxes of comics everywhere, and it's just like, again, whenever you move, it's a pain to move. But even if you're not moving all the time, you just have rooms full of stuff that you're never using. And I just feel like that's a waste, rather than, I like Leo's point, give it to people who can use it and want it.
Yeah, it's
like
tough.
This generation has made it a lot easier, though, because I've always been like, I don't want to download games. I want to have the physical thing. And I just finally ripped that Band-Aid off. And now it's like, if I have to get a game, like the physical version, it feels like kind of a burden in some weird way, for the same reasons we've been discussing. Is like, I don't want to have this thing lying around. It's just so much easier to access like your library just digitally from a menu, and then it doesn't take up any space.
You don't have to stand up to swap out the disc.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think I wish physical copies also just had, like, they had old cool manuals in them, or like some of the things like back when like the physical copies really meant a lot to me was when they came with stuff, right? Like that they had parts that made it unique and interesting. And I think I'm with you, Jeff, when I buy one and I'm like, oh cool, I got that, and I love having the box and it's super fun to have, and you open it up and it's like a code.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So I think I do like getting like limited editions. Like those are still fun in that regard because they come with our books and all those other kind of parts. But yeah, I hear you on that. It's tough. It's also tough too because I feel like, with music, I was like, I'm never getting rid of my music collection. And I know people still love albums and everything like that, but Spotify made it really easy for me to listen to music kind of anywhere and, pay a monthly subscription fee and maybe spend less on music overall and have access to more, which is a weird thing. But so I think games are coming to terms with that as well as we move forward. But great question, Alan. Really appreciate it and appreciate your answers, guys. So, hey, Andy and crew, my name is John E. And that's, by the way, John with a large E, not Johnny.
That was weird inflection otherwise.
Electric
exactly.
John.
So from Brooklyn, New York, longtime listener, devoted GI video devourer, decades-long GI follower. Thank you very much, Johnny. So as an old school late 30s gamer, I think my buddies and I fall into these types. I was wondering about GI staff answers. You must choose one that describes you. 1, the completionist. I don't care how many feathers or Riddler trophies there are. I must have them all. The power leveler. All characters have reached level 99 from my mini grinding, even though I'm only halfway through the game and I can beat Kefka with one person and all specials and are at 10, and my companion has the epic Gatling laser, the power. This one is me, Johnny. The game breaker. They really don't want to go to Vegas. They really don't want me to go to Vegas yet, but I will. The elitist. Okay, just beat hardcore. Now on to platinum in every level on legendary. The lore master, aka Matt Miller. Good reference. Okay, really hope you read my question, but I want to say I love all your content. Devoted fan. Have a Hassie and a $500 banana for me. Be safe, Johnny. So, are you the completionist, the power leveler, the game breaker, the elitist, or the lore master? Do you fit within these gaming categories? Jeff Cork.
Completionist, I'd say.
Completionist.
Yeah. I would have said power leveler, but then I think that's the one. Was that the one that he said that you get the platinum and all that stuff too? Or is that
no
game?
That's just like where I think the best example he's giving here is like, you're like, I could go beat the last boss, but I need all my characters maxed out. Right. That game where you beat it and the last boss is too easy. You're like, who made this last boss so easy? And it's like, your fault, idiot. You went 50 levels over.
Yeah, I think I lean toward completionist, but not in I don't think I have a single platinum trophy. So I don't do it within the meta of the game, but within a game, I try to get as many of the items that are available and do everything I can before I beat a game.
I think you fit that because I think he says the elitist is the one that has to get platinum in every level on level.
Yeah, I'm not that.
Yeah. Okay, all right. It's nice to see that you fit in that. How about you, Ben Reeves?
I used to be a completionist. I used to somebody once said chew the gum until there was no flavor left. I would play a game several times and do everything. And I don't know, since working at GI, I've just been kind of spoiled for choice and had so many games that I can play that now I kind of get this weird thrill out of being able to finish a game as fast as possible. So what did he call that? The speed runner or what? I don't know what he called that.
That's not on here, but I think that would. Yeah, I think that's a tough one. I mean, maybe you don't fit this list.
Or he called one the game breaker or something, where you go into areas you're not supposed to be in yet. Kind of like that, where it's I like looking at how long to beat and being like, oh, I did it faster than that, just so I can kind of move on to the next game and play the next thing, because I get a thrill out of playing as many games as I can now rather than playing as much of each game. Although there's the occasional game I'll dive into, like The Witcher, where I did every side mission and did all the collectibles and all that stuff. So every now and then I'll kind of dive back and obsess about a game.
Yeah, I kind of put that one of the things I would say here is that one that he doesn't list is kind of the game finish collector. Do you know what I mean? You want to collect as many trophies of I finished as many games as possible.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of gamers that are like that they just want to finish as many games as possible and just kind of move on. That's something I see. I mean, Reiner's that way. I think there's a lot of gamers out there that are like that. How about you, Leo?
Probably closest to the game breaker. And just that I like to find weird ways to play games, and I get a lot of joy out of pushing the edges. As far as in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, focusing every second of my efforts on getting like a one-hit arrow headshot build, so I don't have to do any assassination besides just shooting people with arrows. Or like, I was remembering the other day playing Sunset Overdrive and just focusing on the turrets and things you could drop, and they would kind of cover an area of effect, and just like turning it into like a tower defense game. Things like that. When games let me do that, that's when I connect with them the most, I think, is when I can say, oh, I played this game in a way that was very specific to me. That felt really fun.
Yeah, I kind of call that kind of gamer myself, like kind of the tinkerer, someone who wants a world, like a sandbox world that they can play in and create things with and create their own styles from them. It's funny because I always see, even before you answer that question, you always light up when you talk about a game where you're able to kind of manipulate the systems, right? You know what I mean? Like that you really like that. And you don't necessarily fit on this list either, but you do definitely have a style. And I think there's a lot of people out there that had that same kind of thing too. Like even Minecraft players, like they want to create and manage their own world and play it their own way. You know, they don't fit in those kind of classic. I think, by the way, I think it's a great email, Johnny. I think these are definite like, ways that we can describe ourselves. But I think that gaming has changed so much that there's a lot more of them now, of the way people play and the way that they find joy out of games. And for me, myself, I don't actually know if I fit this either. I probably fall under the collector, but I'm a bad collector. Like the one who wants to play I want to play a bunch of games. I don't always complete all the games that I play. I'm always very happy when I am able to complete them. And when a game captures me that way, that because I love the thrill of beating them, but I definitely, when I beat them, I don't want to do any of the other stuff. Like I generally don't go back. I don't collect all the feathers or all the Riddler trophies. I tell myself, by the way, when I really like a game and I'm like 75% through and I'm like, I'm beating this game and I'm getting everything. And then I beat it and I go, no, I'm not. And I move on.
As soon as I beat a game, I'm done with it. Like even if there's like so close to finishing collections or whatever. So I force myself to get everything done before I beat it, because I know that once it's done, I won't go back.
Yeah, it's like a magical effect of credits. Like as soon as you see those, you're like, "Oh, I'm good."
Yep.
Dispel me of needing to like play this game ever.
So yeah, that's a weird thing, but it's a really interesting question. For the listeners out there, please put in the comments what kind of gamer you think you are. What drives you as a gamer? I find this a fascinating subject. And I would love to hear how you describe yourself and what drives you, what makes you want to play games, what games sing to you. I think that's really fascinating. Hello, Game Informer crew. My name is Cole Harper from Nashville, Tennessee. Last week, I brought you the game of This or That. That was fun last week. You guys weren't here, but it was fun. This or That was fun. This week, I thought I'd make a game that was a little less harsh. Since we are quarantined and not supposed to be leaving, it came to me the idea of what 5 games would you take if you were trapped on a desert island? It doesn't have to be your top 5 favorite games of all time, just the top 5 you would want to play for what you could play for years on a desert island. Thank you for all you do. P.S. I would like to shout out some praise to Dan the Jacket Tack. He always preaches that anyone can beat From Software games, and I used to not believe him. But thanks to him and a buddy of mine, I have beat Bloodborne over the lockdown and have now beat it and Dark Souls. I now get why he said that he would only play Bloodborne 2 over any other possible From Software game from the last week question. So that was one of the hard questions we gave Dan last week, is he got to choose, could he have Bloodborne in the This or That, Bloodborne 2, or all other From Software games ever? And he chose Bloodborne 2.
Oh.
Which was funny because someone later commented in our things that they were like, wouldn't it be great if Bloodborne 2 was like a mobile game that had like a bunch of microtransactions just to kind of continue to torture Dan, and that made me laugh. So thank you for that. And we've answered the desert island question before, but it was also asked by Jared from Kansas City, Missouri. So I think we should address this, but I think we should take a twist on it. What is our COVID-19 trapped at home game to make it very current? So it doesn't mean that this is like your one game forever, which I think is generally what a desert island game is. This is like, what game gets you through this particular challenge that we are under right now? If you could only choose one, right? So we're not going to do a top 5. That'll take too long. Yeah. Let's say you get one game to get you through this. Yeah. What game gets you through this? Leo Vader.
Are we allowing living games and games that get updated? Or are we saying a game as it is forever?
Yeah, I think the joke I've always made about Desert Island Games is that I'd want the Blizzard BattleNet because it gave me all those games. But you probably don't have the internet on a desert island. But
okay.
So I think the desert island rules would be you don't get internet. So I think in this particular case, you do get internet,
Right.
but you couldn't pick, because obviously you could pick like, oh, I want, the Epic Game Store. I want Steam, which gives you access to a ton. You actually have to pick one game, but it can be whatever kind of service that you may want it to be, or one particular game.
Yeah, then it's Siege for me, no question.
No question.
I would love to be able to play that game more. And if I have to be stranded on a desert island to really focus and get higher rank in it, then that's what I'll do.
You guys did a new gameplay today, or
yeah, it was like a live stream where we all played on PS4, got the 5-stack of mostly Game Informer employees, as well as Jeff Cork's son, who was an absolute treat on that stream, and it was very fun. We had some great wins.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah,
that was your first experience in Siege, right, Cork?
I played a little bit before, but that was like I'd spent some time in Terrorist Hunt, which has been rebranded, and
weird.
Yeah, training mode, and then also a little bit with random people, like 1 or 2 matches. But that was let's just say that was my first real experience with it.
And you had fun as well?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Would it be your Desert Island COVID-19 game?
No, I think that one is another. It's like adjacent to that. I would say right now the Division 2 has been like what my go-to game for the last few weeks has been. But I will say there is a caveat to that. Like they just released update 9 yesterday, I think it was, and it's kind of a stinker. They nerfed like the meta M1A rifle by 40% and didn't put that in the patch notes. It was like a stealth note like nerf, and that's like what everyone is running, and which just seems kind of outrageous. But
I'm still subscribed to that subreddit, even though I haven't kept up with that game that much since New York dropped, and it is crazy in there right now.
People are heated about that, which for good reason, because like that was the meta, is using this gun, and I can understand like Ubisoft is like, well, too many people are leaning on it, we want everyone to try, but like for PvE, it's maybe just buff everything then to make it rise to that level, but whatever. I'll play that anyway, though.
The stealth nerf of it seems especially problematic.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, but I've been having fun with it. I think mostly I just like the setting a lot, and it's super easy to get into matches right now. Even now, like if I do matchmaking on any mission I want, someone will like send me an invite to their game, or I'll join, or they'll join me, and you don't need to like voice chat or anything like that. And everyone is super like cooperative and helpful, and yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Great choice. Look at Ubisoft. 2 for 2 coming into Ben Reeves. What is your
Not
choice?
Ubisoft, but yeah, I'm probably going to sound like a lunatic at this point because we've already talked about XCOM a bunch, but I think I want to go with XCOM, like your Enemy Unknown, like the original one that Firaxis made, when was that? Like 2012 or something? Which I think is still just a really, like, in terms of like strategy games, probably the most perfectly balanced one, in my opinion. I think it's just a great strategy game and still just endlessly replayable.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is cheating or not, but there's tons of mods out there that just add to the game and like, throw a couple of those on there and it feels like a new game, which is great. You said I have internet, so
yeah, no, I think that's
I'm gonna use it.
Choice.
Yeah, so that's it. We've been doing these games to play during lockdown recently, and we just did. Well, I guess it's coming out tomorrow, but I wrote about XCOM for one that's coming out tomorrow. As a little spoiler.
It came out today, Reeves.
Surprise! Tease. Go check it out. It's a great story.
Yeah, that's a good choice. And it's funny. I should mention to people, Reeves is pretty funny because he's, obviously he's the famous street comedian, right? He's got this deadpan delivery that he's the master of. In almost every meeting, at some point, we start a list, and he'll go, "Well, I mean, XCOM should be." I think basically XCOM comes up all the time, so this is not a shocking revelation that XCOM is his choice. But I'm glad that you would get to play XCOM, and I think that's great.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm boring. I think I'd probably pick WoW like I always do. I think that's my go-to comfort game. It's a lot. It's boring. But I mean, I think if I was trying to be interesting, I'd pick something that I'd want to become a master of, right? Like I kind of like the idea of I like what our friend here did, was that I'm in lockdown. I wasn't going to play Bloodborne. I should get outside my comfort zone and play a game and try to master a game because I'm like, trapped to some degree. So I really like that idea of trying to master something you wouldn't normally master.
In that case, can I pick Rocksmith, where you plug in the real guitar and you learn how to play guitar?
Yeah, that's a great
idea.
choice.
Yeah. Well
That'd be
done.
cool.
And another Ubisoft point, by the way. There you go. Wow.
They've got me
Ubisoft's
good.
on fire.
I just need those Uplay points. That's the only reason I'm doing it.
Yeah, no, that's a good choice. Learn to play guitar, man. That would be come out the other side, better person. Wow, we got to be careful. We might do something like important or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Unless he just focused on like blues riffs, then that would be a waste of time.
Check it out, guys. Doing this for 15 years.
It'd also kind of be very disappointing. Like, the quarantine lasted 17 years. I played Rocksmith the whole time. Play us something, and it's like really bad. You got no skill the whole time. So thank you for the question, and that it came from multiple people. That was a lot of fun. So here's our next question. So hi guys, what do you think about in-game and post-game content that doesn't fit in it narratively? No spoilers, but Final Fantasy VII Remake's post-game just lets you pick chapters from a menu to clean up unfinished business and do additional content. Final Fantasy 15 does the same thing. Compare this with Control, whose post-game fits in with the narrative. The former makes me less excited to play because I feel like the story has already ended. Is this something other people think about? Jason Wajna. I just murdered that guy's name. Murdered it.
What happened to John E? We like that one.
Yeah, John E.
That's a cool name.
All right, Jason.
So I think it's a great question. So like I've been playing Doom Eternal and it has like a mission select. And the other day I actually I should go back and play an old mission because I can pick them here and go pick up the things I missed. And I did it, but I didn't want to. Halfway through, I was like, I shouldn't have done this. I should have just kept moving forward. Like, I don't want to go back and clean things up. I think this is a question that's relevant to our previous kind of question of what kind of gamer are you? And I think we discussed it a little bit about earlier. So what do you guys think about that? How do you feel about like DLC or other things or mission selects as like post-game content? Do you venture down that path? Or is it like we talked about before, like once you see the credits, you're done. You don't play DLC. You don't venture down that path. Jeff Cork?
I typically I don't play a lot of DLC typically, but like larger expansions, like we'll go back to Division 2, like the Warlords of New York expansion is pretty cool. There's a lot of interesting. It feels like it bolts onto the existing structure pretty neatly, so things kind of transfer back and forth to some degree, and it's more of like a living game rather than like a narrative game where you finish the story and then there's like a DLC chapter or something that, for being honest, has to be fairly inconsequential. Otherwise, it would have been into the main story,
Yeah.
So I think for like a living game like that, like or an open type thing, it's like here's a new area. Here you can kind of go in and out of it. I will do that more than I check out like now here's the next secret chapter or what happened after the story was over. Who cares?
Yeah, I think that's very true. Like when it like renews, like I like that to your point about Division. Like, I get done playing all the Destiny content I'm going to play, but then they bring out a new season and you're like, everything old is new again. And I like that experience and I want to do that experience again. So like in those persistent worlds, they basically kind of a bit of a reset. And like, I'm down for that reset and the regrind and the kind of rebuild up your power as a player.
Yeah,
but
I think it's something that I think I'm less enthusiastic about and more maybe just like psychologically vulnerable to that.
Yeah, that's probably true. That is probably very true.
I think it's probably the same situation with Destiny where it's just like they got me where they want me and I'll just put on a podcast and I'll just grind.
I'll
I'm
throw
fine
the
with
money
it.
at you.
Yeah.
Throwing it. How about you, Leo?
Yeah, it depends on the game, of course, but usually I like it when it's like a fresh start, because sometimes, honestly, we were talking about it earlier about finishing games. My rate of finishing games is terrible. It's got to be sub 10%. I'm definitely more a quantity to stick my fingers in a lot of pies and see what comes up sticky.
Yeah.
But I like when I've probably fallen off the game. And so when the DLC is like, oh, here's a fresh start and it's a new campaign, or it's like you can play from the start with these new components, like kind of XCOM has done. Yeah. That's my ideal, I think, for getting me back into a game.
Yeah. I remember
What's the last game you finished?
Oh, God. Last game I finished. I don't know. I'd have to look at my Steam games.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't have a fun, good answer. I've been meaning to finish Resident Evil 3, but I haven't done that yet. Does that count?
Did you finish 2?
You've been meaning to, yes. We'll take.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Then my completion rate's actually pretty good if we're allowing that.
Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to pay my taxes.
Well, then that's just fine.
Great.
We live in a new world where if you mean it, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, do you? How about you, Ben? You go back?
I mean, sometimes I don't know. Control's an interesting example. I mean, I played that for work, but I feel like usually you dive into DLC and it kind of just feels like, all right, here's kind of more of the same, and it's rarely additive in a way that's valuable. That I think is worth the value, I should say. There are the rare standout examples, and I think I've brought this up dozens of times, but like the Last of Us DLC was good. I liked the BioShock DLC, Infinite and 2 both had good DLC. But I feel like that's so rare that DLC comes out and I play it and I'm like, I'm glad I played that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It does feel that way many times. But those are great examples. Good stuff. All right, our next question.
Half-Life Alyx is the last game I finished.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because you reviewed it for us.
All right.
I still haven't played that game. It's kind of annoying me.
It's so good. Slowly, one by one, my friends with VR are playing through it, and it's very exciting to talk to them about it.
I told Leo, but I finished it just the other week, and it was a lot of fun. It's really good.
Great game.
I like where they take that stories.
So
or where they take the story.
What would you give it as a score, Reeves?
A 10.
I know. Seriously?
Wow.
I don't know if I would actually give it a 10. But probably, I mean...
You were meaning to give it a 10, and that's enough.
Yeah. I mean, Leo's 9, I think, is pretty good. Maybe I would give it a 9.25, 9.5. I don't know.
Oh, you think you're better than me?
Yeah. Mostly because I just played the game a little bit better, I think. Yeah. So I had a more fun time.
Yeah. So this one is an interesting question. So, greetings, GI Town. Andy, you're doing a great job. So you won't read this on air, so I'll say this. Alex and Leo, great show. Not sure why you employed those other guys, but hey. So let's talk about this. He's got questions for us as journalists. So what is the way you must play games when they come out in terms of difficulty level? As a reviewer, you need to run through the whole game in normal to be able to write a review and or give a taste of the higher difficulty levels. So basically he's asking, do we play on normal? Are we required to play on normal? How do we analyze a game in that way? You guys?
Yeah, I go with the default difficulty because that's what they must have put some thought into it. Like, this is what we expect the experience to be by default. So that's how I typically experience it. I review games.
I think that the idea is that we want to play it like how they intended the game to be played by most people, and so usually that's normal, right? So that's what I usually go with.
Yeah, you see the picture of BJ Blazkowicz as a baby, and you're like, okay, so I'm a baby. I picked this one. It's kind of the default
exactly.
one.
Yeah, I think it's fun to go and check out the other difficult, kind of get to hopefully give from some perspective. You know, like I don't think anyone. I mean, I'm sure there's someone you're like, oh, I just beat Halo. I'm gonna write my review. Let's beat it on legendary mode. You know what I mean? Like, but go play it and finish a couple of missions and see what it's like and be like, wow, that's brutal. That's going to take a lot of practice. We need to be smarter. I need to think about how we're going to do these things. It creates some more strategy stuff that I think is interesting perspective that you can bring to a review. But yeah, normal's pretty much it. Yeah, that's the way to do it. So the next question that comes from this reader is, so when you're interviewing developers, do you ask them about AI development? AI? What's that? Artificial intelligence? I would guess that all games are developed to a certain difficulty, which is where the game gives the most rewarding experience. Maybe after that, they just remove bits to make it easier, or crank up the sensitivity health of the AI to make it more difficult. Great show, guys. Stay safe. This is from Tibor, your Hungarian friend from London, Europe. Thank you. So he's asking, so how do we think they handle it? Do we ask them about AI, how they create and deal with difficulty? Or just AI in general? Leo?
Yeah. I think it's always interesting. There was a time, the anecdote that comes to mind when I think about this is when we were doing our Control trip and we were kind of touring the office and just seeing everybody working at their desks just to, prove they were working hard in the game or whatever. There was one part where they walked us through the actual AI technology they were using. Like they had it set up where they could deploy these guys on command or show how they're deploying by themselves, but how they're monitoring that and making sure like the intensity is at the right level. And it's very interesting to see behind the scenes on how they spawn enemies where you can't see or in a way that isn't jarring when they're doing it dynamically like that.
Yeah.
That was very fascinating versus because it was their first game that wasn't structured encounters and was more procedural based on where you were and how tough it had to be for you. But I think it's interesting to get into.
Yeah, it is. I think AI is interesting too in that, like, you're right that a lot of things is just like moving the dials, right? Giving them more health. Yeah. They hit you harder. They're more aware. I think one person brought up that I thought was really funny is an anecdote that, you want to create AI that you can beat. Like if you made AI that was really good and you couldn't beat it, that wouldn't be a fun game. If you just turn it on and just everything mowed you down, you essentially want to try to tune it so that it's something that's challenging, but that you can overcome. And that's really the kind of balance point you're trying to shoot for. But one of the conversations I had that was super interesting once that I wanted to bring up was that I was talking to someone and they were talking about AI and just like that there's sometimes perceptions we have about how AI works, and that, you could be in a game and there'd be an enemy and he'd be like, I'm flanking this guy. And you'd be like, oh, I'm getting flanked. And so you'd look to your right and you'd look for someone who's flanking you or your left, and then you'd shoot them and you'd be like, oh, I'm so smart. But if they really were flanking you, they wouldn't scream, oh, I'm flanking you. Right?
Yeah.
They
Here
would.
comes a surprise.
They'll never see us coming. Straight down the middle.
But if they didn't scream that out, right? If you were just like walking forward in a level and all of a sudden just got, mafia hit, shot in the back of the head and fell over dead, and you didn't know why you died, and you had no, you're like, I don't even know what happened, that you just thought the game was broken or bugged, that they needed to make sure they gave you the information so that when this stuff happened, it made sense. Or in fact, that in some cases too, maybe you have AI that doesn't really flank, but if you just have them scream out, oh, I'm flanking you, you then think the game is flanking you. And even though they never actually pull that off, by them saying that they're flanking you, in your mind, in your imagination, they are. It's a little bit of a trick that can kind of work. So like AI doesn't necessarily have to be values or like the way things go. It can also just be the illusion of entertainment and the magic of making games, which I think is an interesting take on that.
If I was making a game, I'd just have my enemies yell out like, we're really smart. This is fun, engaging combat.
You're liking this.
Yeah. I bet you're having a lot of fun fighting us.
That's funny. Hey guys, I was recently part of a Zoom quiz with a bunch of friends, and one of the rounds was about video game quotes, memorable speeches. See how many of these 12 you can get correct. Now, by the way, I can get them all correct because I got the email and I read it and I saw the answers, so I can't play, but I wanted to let you guys see if you could get these right. And also, too, I'm lazy, so I didn't actually check to make sure these are real quotes from the right game, so this could be completely wrong, and you might go, but I'm going to trust our good friend here, which is Jack from Cambridge, UK. So thank you, Jack, for sending this in. So I'm going to read some quotes, and you try to guess the game. And I'll give you a couple seconds to get it right. We'll keep this moving. But number one is, welcome back, Commander.
Halo.
Yeah, I was gonna guess Halo 2, but I don't know.
That's a good guess.
Halo 2 is a better guess because they say welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's XCOM. Welcome back, Commander.
Oh, I thought you
yeah, of
liked that
course.
game, Reeves.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I
I
never
like
played
that
it.
game too. I guess
Was
not.
I can hear that now. Welcome back, Commander.
Yeah, exactly. Once you know it,
Yeah.
it's very clear. But I mean, Welcome Back,
Perfect.
Commander could be in like any game, right?
Yeah.
Literally.
So this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
Oh, XCOM.
This is my
That's-
favorite store on the Citadel.
That's Mass Effect. Is that
Mass Effect,
2?
the Happy Home Academy.
You know,
Yeah.
yes, it is. That is that scene cracked me up. It's the video game store, right? That's there
Mm.
on the Citadel, right?
Well, isn't it like? Doesn't he do that for multiple stores? Isn't
Does
that
he?
the
Oh,
joke?
maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it's good because all right, here you go. This one's pretty easy. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Yeah, Resident Evil.
Yeah, thank you. There's another easy one. War never changes.
Fallout.
Fallout,
Fallout
series.
3.
Yeah,
Or
right?
yeah, they use it multiple times, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do it multiple times. Yeah. Stop right there, criminal scum.
Oblivion.
Hey, good one, Leo. Very nice.
Mhm.
A man chooses, a slave obeys.
Bioshock. I was
Bioshock.
gonna say that immediately. The second this email happened, I was like,
As
"That's."
soon as you said man,
This one made me laugh. You must construct additional pylons.
oh yeah, StarCraft.
There you go. Gavlon wheel, Gavlon deal.
Oh,
Dark
I don't know
Souls
that
2.
one.
Dark Souls 2. No one's here. I don't think that we needed Dan here.
He's playing Bloodborne.
Yeah, he's playing on the mobile version. Nice. Your fruit killing skills are remarkable.
Fruit Ninja.
Fruit Ninja? Or it could be
Wow.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
I like that guess. Nice. Your fruit killing skills are remarkable. I kind of remember this. I don't remember this, but it came out recently. It's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. The old one, like when you were doing like the training, I think
Oh.
you shot fruit and
Like
they
Captain
kind of,
Price says something.
yeah,
to
it
you,
kind of
maybe?
like mocks you. I think that's where that's from.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. That one too could be in a lot of different games. This might be my favorite one. Sean.
Heavy Rain.
It's that
Heavy Rain, yeah.
yeah, Heavy Rain. Yeah.
The origami killer.
Thank you, Jack. That was fun. He has a bonus here that if I don't remember to go back to later, which is a Kiss Marry Kill, which is the 3 Supergiant games, which man, that's a tough one. Not
Oh,
including Hades. So it's like Bastion, Transistor, Pyre. You guys want to play that now, or should I just remind me later?
I'd
we can
marry
just get
Pyre.
it out the way.
You want to get it out of the way?
Mary Bastion, Kiss, Pyre, Kill Transistor.
Wait, well, hold on. You went too fast. What do you pick?
Mary Bastion,
Okay.
Kiss, Pyre, Kill Transistor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leo
Well,
nailed it.
I think I'm
Thank you.
similar, but I think I like Pyre a little bit more. I'd marry Pyre, Kiss Bastion. I mean, I even like Transistor, but it's just the
Me too.
weakest of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah, I think the world would go nuts if there was a Bastion sequel. Though they don't hit me as a sequel company. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like I that's the thing about Supergiant. I think they make these games and they're their own thing, and they take mechanics and things from them, but they stick to them. All right. Speaking of mechanics, hey crew, first time emailing. Name is Dylan. My question is, what is a mechanic that's been shown in a game this generation you expected to take off and go into a lot of other games? The biggest one, I think, is the Nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor games. Completely expected to start seeing other companies try to make similar systems or branching off of it. Anyway, thanks for the great podcast. Been enjoying it. Thank you, Dylan. So, yeah, mechanics you thought you would take off, which this is kind of a funny question because when you think about it, you're like, man, yeah, same mechanics over and over again, kind of like rearranged, but we don't mind because we enjoy those mechanics. But can you think of anything besides the Shadow of Mordor games, which, by the way, was a great and ingenious system and we'd like to see appear more? And we agree with that. But any others?
The camera functionality in Burnout Paradise where you crash somebody and then you get to see their pissed off face from their Xbox Live camera. Yeah, or pissed off ass if they're fast enough.
Yeah, that's true. Like enjoying other people's pain. That's
I want
a good
that
mechanic.
I want that in Siege, to be honest.
Yeah, but they said this gen, right?
I think we can take any. We can. If you find a good mechanic that you'd like to see, that's okay. We'll take it. It's acceptable.
Yeah. That is insane, though. That was something that they allowed. Like, can you imagine someone proposing something like that now? It'd be like, no, there's no way.
Yeah, that you're gonna turn on a camera and see someone's reaction.
Exactly.
Especially because I feel like you're gonna get a lot of things you don't want to see with that kind of camera operation.
Absolutely.
Particularly in games and against people you don't know. But I agree with you, Leo. Actually, the thing that cracks me up is sometimes when I play on PC, a lot of times consoles have like area effect where you can hear someone just speak on the mic. They don't have push to talk like a lot of PC players do. So when you kill a console player, you know they're a console player because you hear them scream and yell when they die. You know, if you're close enough to them that you get the sound. Hearing
people in Warzone yell as they die is like my favorite part of that game.
Yeah, it's super funny. So Ben Reeves, what do you got?
Yeah, one I was just thinking of actually is just time rewind mechanics. Like I'm thinking of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time had it where you could rewind if you screwed up. Like I was always surprised more games didn't do that. And I know there's some racing games that do it, but it's not like super widespread where it's such a cool idea of like, well, I screwed up, just let me rewind real quick and do it again.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that more.
That's really smart, actually.
Into the Breach lets you rewind like one turn per fight, right? And that slots into tactics games really well just to take a little bit of that frustration off, and I would like to see that more for sure.
Yeah, that is smart.
Especially, too, because it's something that doesn't even have to be like in Prince of Persia, it's literally a game mechanic, right? Like it's a big part of the game. But I think you're right. It could be an interesting way, just like let people play games the way they want to play. You know what I mean? Like to create their own difficulty instead of like being stuck at some save point. You're like, it's just this one jump I can't make.
Yeah. You
know, let me go from here and move forward. That's an interesting solution, actually. That's a great idea, Ben. I think we all talk about active reload comes up a lot. I thought that from Gears was going to be something that we'd see in a lot of places, and it never really took off.
I'd like to see it with like when you're loading a weapon that's individual shells or individual bullets and like a lever action rifle. I'd like to see like rhythmically pressing it, making that happen faster, especially in the Division, because I do love those snipers that take a super long time to reload but are worth it for the damage they do, and like having a way to actively do something while you're waiting for the reload to be done. Yeah, that'd be great.
And if you do it too fast, you screw it up, you like drop a shell, you're like, oh damn it.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, it's also one of those things, like, that's a mechanic I'd like to be a toggle. That you could go into the options and be like, I just want to reload, right?
Yeah,
sure.
You know, but if you wanted that extra risk reward in your game, being able to do things like that, I think is definitely worth it, because it feels so good when you do it right. Right? I think that was the thing about you were like, oh, I nailed it, and you got the advantage based on that. All right, great question, Dylan. It's a really interesting to think about. Those mechanics are the way they can affect games, and I'm with you. I'd like to see more with the Shadow of Mordor. Kind of like that ability to pick through and have that history with the NPCs in the game is really pretty amazing. Hey, Andy and the Quarantiners. 2020, to put it mildly, has been a bit of a disappointment. I'd say that's pretty mild. I think it's been kind of amazingly horrible. No need to get into reasons why, I'm sure, but it got me thinking about past gaming disappointments. What has been the most disappointed you've been by a high-profile game release that turned out to be a dud? For me, it's Perfect Dark Zero. I was a massive fan of the original and was very excited to play the long-awaited sequel on my shiny new Xbox 360. Well, what I got was probably the most bland FPS of the generation. Even the multiplayer was whatever. I was crushed. What about you guys? Thanks and stay safe. Frank from Augusta, Georgia. So, I don't ever like to just harp on a game for being bad. But I think it is an interesting question when you have a certain excitement level for something and then it falls short. And it can, by the way, I'm sure there's someone out there that loves Perfect Dark Zero and thinks you're wrong, Frank, because that's the internet, right? There's always someone at the opposite end.
Yeah.
And someone will think what we think is bad is good. But what do you guys? How about you, Jeff Cork? Do you have a game?
That's easy. It's a State of Emergency. I was super excited about that one. It's like a Rockstar game, a riot simulator. What could go wrong? It was awful. It was just
right after Grand Theft Auto 3 too.
Right.
So it's kind of the height of everybody's crazy about this company.
Yeah.
Like they can do no wrong.
Oh, and they did.
And they could.
Yeah, it is so bad. And it was one of those, I was so excited in the drive home. I was one of my friends, we went to the game store together, and I was like, boy, you're in for a treat. This is going to be amazing. And then it was just one of those, I'm going to go make a sandwich. Have fun, Jeff. It just didn't come back kind of a thing.
Just hear the car turn on. Whoa.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now, is that because you built the game up in your mind? Because in this case, he picked a sequel that he was excited for. This is a brand new IP.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the riots that got you excited. I
was excited about just the idea of being able to smash a bunch of stuff in a store and interact with these crowds and everything. And the crowds were almost like a layer of rain in a lot of video games, where it was just the superficial background element that you didn't really. It didn't affect you one way or the other, and then it was just a really subpar brawler beyond that. Yeah.
So did that later affect your excitement for the Capcom series with Frank? Why am I spacing on the name of that one?
Oh, Dead Rising?
Dead Rising, right? Because you loved that series ultimately, eventually too, and had similar elements to.
All I want to do is smash stuff in a store, and that let me do it. So Dead Rising wins.
Yeah. All right, Ben Reeves, do you have
a couple? The first one I was thinking of was Cork. You probably remember this is Crackdown 2, where Crackdown 1 was so fun, especially back in the day.
It was.
And then the sequel, we even put it on our cover. We were so excited about it, and when it came in for review, somehow I got on it, which I was excited about initially. And Cork, you were on it as well, and we were both great, we're going to play it this weekend. We're going to play together, and then we'll come in next week and write the review. And I remember us both walking in on Monday, and we were like, yeah, what did you think of that? It's just it was so disappointing because it was basically the same world, and they had added a few things, but ultimately made it worse.
Yeah, suddenly you realize why they gave that to the new guys.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time. I will say we did not know at the time that we were down that path.
Well, that was even up to the game's release, we thought it was going to be a great sequel. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good trailers.
The other one I thought of was Resident Evil 6, where I was really excited for that game. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and at the time, I remember liking 5 a lot. I still think it's a good game. I'm not going to knock it too much, but I think it was. They learned the wrong lessons from 5 in the way they took the series, and that's the one Resident Evil mainline entry that I still haven't beaten just because I didn't like it enough to finish it.
Yeah, same.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Leo? Out of your 10%.
Takes a lot to disappoint me. Assassin's Creed 3 is the one I remember where I was sitting there watching it download, getting so hyped, wanting to play it the second it was done from all the pre-release stuff I'd seen, and then by hour 4 of trudging through the snow, I was just completely over it. But I do want to revisit that game in its kind of remastered state and see if I like it anymore, knowing what to expect. But I bounced right off that game in a way I didn't think was possible for how excited I was for it.
It's also the longest setup to a game. It just takes forever before you're finally playing the main character of the game as an adult with the costume. It takes the longest to set up that game.
And all the history stuff is so stupid. the Paul Revere sequence, and it was I was really into the trailer where he picked up the weapon as he was running and then killed the guy as he was running and kept going without running. And that didn't feel as good as I wanted it to.
Yeah, you wish that Ben Franklin would have invented staples, because chasing after his stupid pages of Poor Richard's Almanac. It was terrible.
Maybe try writing in a bound notebook, Benjamin.
Yeah.
For me, just a recent one is I was really excited for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh,
And by the way, I'm not saying that the game is bad. I just think it didn't live up to what I wanted. Right? I had expectations that were not met.
You could say it's bad if you want.
yeah. It's okay.
Wow. It's okay. It's okay. You could do it. So we're going to do some GI Town now. All right, guys, you ready? You ready for this? Are you ready? Are you hype?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Dear Andy and the Informants, after playing a ton of Control since the DLC released, by the way, our second Control reference, and by the way, I love Control, so I like the references. Keep them coming. Great game if you haven't played it. As well as replaying the Max Payne series and listening to your podcast's ever-expanding town parameter, it got me thinking. Call me crazy, call me paranoid, or worse yet, call me a conspiracy theorist, but no doubt it has some slimy shadow organization, some video game alphabet agency of ill repute made a writhing nest beneath the common decency of the GI community. It's terrifying. My question for you is, what is the name of the monstrous organization that has burrowed its tendrils beneath the flesh of our fine town, tugging at our seams like puppets on a string? Umbrella Corp, Trinity, the FBC, is it the Inner Circle, or the Aesir Corporation? Who? There's a million to choose from. So, great podcast, love it. What is the organization that has come in and taken over GI Town? I think we have to pick 5, right? He asked that we pick what 5 video game protagonists we've hired to stop this agency at bay, but I kind of like the idea of switching it up, and let's pick the 5 agencies that have tried and ultimately failed, by the way. I'd like to point out that we have our GI Town army. We have so many great video game characters in this town. They have no chance. But we've had 5 come. Let's talk about what shadow agencies would be our top 5 invaders into GI Town. So a little mix on a little spin on your question there, John M. So thank you. And the reason I do that too is that we had another question from Ian from Denver that was very similar, where he talked to us. He wanted to do a Kiss, Marry, Kill based around evil corporations. So I kind of liked the theme. So we're doing evil corporations. So,
well, I mean, do they have to be evil? Like, do you consider the FBC evil?
No,
sort of like...
no, they don't have to be necessarily evil, but I mean, like, questionable. I think, like he says here, like there's more to them than meets the eye.
Yeah, because I like the FBC. I like FBC on there, and if we do want to go full evil, then Umbrella is a good choice.
Yeah. How about the WWE from those wrestling games? I've heard some things. No, just having fun.
I actually like that entry. That makes me laugh. I like the idea of like that the organization that's trying to stop GI Town is the WWE. Right? That like over the hill comes Vince McMahon and a bunch of wrestlers. Like, that's pretty good comedy to me. I like that.
I can see it.
I can see it too.
I'm sold.
How about Black Mesa?
Oh, that's a good choice.
I stole that from Ben from the pre-meeting. You're welcome.
They're up to no good. They're
they
gonna
are.
let in a bunch of aliens, and that'll wreck everything.
Yeah, it will.
That fits with the FBC though.
I also like, from a previous recommendation was, do you pick like Abstergo from Assassin's Creed? Do you consider them bad? Do you consider them? I mean, they're shadowy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Templars, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's just a matter of perspective. What's bad?
Yeah, but who's really the bad guy?
Right.
That's a good point, guys. I'll go back to Assassin's Creed 3 and examine that.
Yeah. You really should have.
Yeah.
Any other who are our bad guys from like who was the smoking man, Mass Effect? Who did he work for?
Oh gosh,
Space.
right.
Yeah, I was going to say the concept of space. Yeah.
These are hard, by the way. It's hard to remember the shadowy organizations, right?
Because the big ones stand out, like Umbrella, obviously Shinra.
How about Shinra? I think Shinra's a good choice.
Shinra, perfect.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like a playful, shadowy, evil organization. Someone like Team Rocket or something
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
from Pokemon.
We want to set
Okay.
ourselves up to defeat some easy ones, some softballs.
Yeah, have a few easy wins.
All right.
Down Shinra.
So if we had to pick them, I think the WWE is a slam dunk, by the
Mhm.
way, because I think that's
Choke slam dunk.
Yeah. Do we think Shinra's in there for sure?
Yeah.
I think
All
Shinra.
right. I like Abstergo too for some strange reason. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I'm into it.
They make the Assassin's Creed games in
Yeah.
universe, so we need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, they do. That's so weird.
Yeah. So then what you got left? You got left Umbrella, Black Mesa, Team Rocket. What do you like out of there? I mean, Umbrella has to be there, right? But is
Like,
Umbrella?
Umbrella's so iconic.
I would say that. I would agree with that.
They're not like if we're going shadowy, maybe they're not super well, but
They're not really like the mob. They're just bad at their job, right? They just let viruses out.
You know, one that might be good though would be the version of EA as presented in that Simpsons game. There's that level that you fight Will Wright at the end of the level, and it's got like these vats. Like it shows like you see the factory where they make games, and there's like a Madden joke, and it's like these big tubs of like for other something. I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna totally blow the gag, but it's like violence, something else, and like creativity, and the creativity one is empty, and the other things are like pouring in the.
That's pretty good.
Well, what was the name of that? The Simpsons?
It was just
Video
EA.
Just EA is
Oh.
good, yeah.
They're just making fun of
but
themselves.
it's EA as making as they made fun of themselves in the
Okay,
Simpsons
gotcha.
game. Yeah.
All right, gotcha. All right. What do you like? We got to pick. We've got three. We got WWE. We got Shinra. We have Abstergo. I think we have to put Umbrella or Black Mesa. I feel like one of those has to go in, right?
Yeah.
Like Black Mesa.
Is Aperture Science evil?
Oh, I like
Ooh.
that one's good.
That might be more
Maybe they're
fun than
better
Black
than-
Mesa to
I
have
would-
around.
Yeah, that's better than Black Mesa
Mhm.
even, I think.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Aperture Science.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think of that song. I love that song.
Aperture Science.
That's the one.
You remember when you could say the cake is a lie and people would give you like a smile and a nod?
Yeah.
Nowadays
Oh,
they
yeah.
spit on you.
Yeah, it's just people are annoyed. It went from cool to not cool very quickly.
Just
My day.
instantly.
Do you remember when you could say that cake is a lie and they were like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the game
Huh?
came out?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could just put those words together.
What is that? What do you mean?
All right, so what's your last spot? You got Umbrella, you got Black Mesa, you got Team Rocket, you got EA. I kind of like Team Rocket, maybe, just because it's like you said, it's like, I don't know, it's weird that there's like Pokemon showing up, like trying to be tough guys, and we're like, whatever. Pokemon trainers,
So-
take this.
I mean, yeah,
Talking
I
cat.
feel like I could defeat Team Rocket
That's the
myself,
beauty of it, right?
which is what I like about them, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. All right. So the WWE, Aperture Science, Abstergo, Shinra, and Team Rocket are the shadowy bits and pieces that have come to attack GI Town, but we've repelled them. We've repelled them because, well, Team Rocket, I mean, Leo can beat them all on his own. He doesn't even
Yeah.
need any help.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Easy enough. All right, here we go. Kiss, Marry, Kill. So this we got a long one here. This is a one he's asked for. He's corrected my pronunciation. We're gonna skip that. Doesn't like the way I say etc. But we're gonna move on to this. In that he's got a game switch up, which we're not gonna do. Which is he wants us to do a round and then have those winners face each other in kind of a basically a ladder effect of battle. But that takes a lot of like work to get done. So I don't think we're going to do that. But I think there's some fun ones in here that we're going to hit. So first of all, that's from Brady Easter from Edmond, Oklahoma. So thank you. We really appreciate it. So here we go. You get to pick some games here between Super Smash Brothers, The Witcher, and Pokemon. Kiss, Marry, Kill. To remind everyone, Marry is the series that you love and you want to spend all the money on, make big, giant AAA games with. Kiss is kind of like, I like this game a lot. I'll make some indie games, maybe some lower, not the biggest budget game in the world, but I'm going to make one more. It's going to be cool. and of course kill is kill that out. So we're just kind of ranking them in that order. So once again, Super Smash Brothers, The Witcher, and Pokemon. And I want to start with Jeff Cork. I know he loves Super Smash.
Exactly. You kiss The Witcher, you marry Smash Brothers, and you gotta kill the Pokemon.
Kills the Pokemon. All right.
How about your Pokemon fill in Smash Brothers?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, loopholes.
Loopholes. It's a way to do it. How about you, Ben Reeves?
I think similar. I'd marry The Witcher, kiss Smash, and kill Pokemon.
Oh,
I like Pokemon, but you got Smash. Like you said, it's better.
It's better. All right. How about you, Leo?
Marry Smash, kiss Pokemon, kill The Witcher.
Wow.
And I could do it.
What I like about this is like sometimes people will come up with like, okay, there's 3 games that make sense to combine, or here's 3 games from the same developer, and then you just have like, what is this? This isn't a random assortment of like 2 Nintendo games and The Witcher. Like, okay,
yeah,
that's why I like it. I like
it. That's what I'm saying. Like,
it makes it. I think the idea is that we like when people try to send us lists that are challenging and get different answers from different people. I think that's what's fun. Because for me, it would be, I would marry The Witcher, kiss Pokemon, and kill Super Smash Brothers.
Wow.
In your face. There you go. So this one's tough. So this one's developers, the round one that he has for developers. So Bethesda, Bungie, and From Software. Kiss, marry, kill. Bethesda, Bungie, From Software. Anybody? You guys are all. Does anybody have their answers formulated? Looks like.
I'd probably say marry.
Alphabetically. I don't feel strongly about any of those developers.
Well, it's like Bethesda, I'd like marry, but I feel like they haven't had a good track record recently. So I feel, even though it's an ugly bride, it's
a marriage of convenience.
Yeah. I still believe in you.
Yeah.
And then kiss Bungie and kill From Software because I hate Dan.
Whoa.
All right, Leo, since Jeff Cork says he just would do alphabetically.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't really want to marry any of them, but I guess I would marry Bungie, kiss Bethesda, kill From Software, in order of how much I've enjoyed each of their games in the past. Well, I guess if we're going by games in the past, then Bethesda's probably the best. But right now, I've lost a lot of faith in them over the last couple of years, so it's tough.
It's id that made Doom, but I've been enjoying Doom. But Bethesda, I think we're looking toward the RPG is what we're referencing here. The
logo is really cool though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the city, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. This is so tough because I think it's funny because From Software has been around for so long, and I mean, like, I think there's got to be a good solid decade where this question would have been a joke, where we would have been like, From Software, bye, right? And so I think it's
who?
I think that says a lot that From Software is on a list with Bethesda and Bungie, which is pretty amazing, actually. But I do think I love Bungie. I'm a huge Bungie fan, and I'm a huge Bethesda fan too. And I really like the From. So this is another one that's really challenging. I like all these companies. They're really good, really great developers. And I'd hate to see any of them killed in any way, shape, or form. But I think I would have to go Bungie, kiss Bethesda, kill From Software, but that hurts. Like, that really hurts. That's just because I really like Bungie's work on Destiny and everything they've done over the years. So tough one. Good question. This one is I think we're gonna move on to the next set of questions. But thank you, Edward. That would have been fun to kind of do a ladder of them, but that was a tough ladder. So this one is interesting. Howdy from Dallas, Texas. I have a kiss, marry, kill that I wanted to hear y'all's take on. The theme for this one is live service games that could use some love. For this one, I think I'm more referring to just the games themselves, not the franchise. So marry means it gets massive monthly content updates. Kiss means one big DLC, and kill means no more updates. Or it's at some stakes that the servers get shut down. So the options are, and the reason this one is interesting is that they're all games that aren't on the top of the list. I think they are definitely ones that you wouldn't normally pick from. So I think this makes it interesting and challenging. So Anthem, Fallout 76 and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So one, it's done. You know, it's there. There's nothing else comes for it. One, it gets a couple more shots and some DLC, and another one gets a full-on hard push onto the game with new content and a big stream of it. You get to choose. You're almost like the business manager of these particular live service games. He also adds, P.S. Love the podcast. I've been listening since July 2018. So thank you very much. This is Luke from Andy Homeland. So there we go. That's Texas, by the way. So what do you think? Anthem, Fallout 76, Ghost Recon. You get to decide whether it gets a lot. You're not killing. You're just saying it gets more, gets a little more, gets nothing more.
Kill all the services and put the money into XCOM games. Just one of those.
Nice.
It's my business decision.
Oh, okay. So live service XCOM games.
Yeah, why not?
All right. Okay. That's a cheap way out of that answer. Leo?
I've been looking for a reason to bring up XCOM.
Yeah, because we haven't really talked about it on the show. I'd like to point out you missed the quiz earlier about XCOM.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah, you did. So I'm just saying. We have to. I don't know that you really like XCOM.
Wow.
Oh, that quiz.
I don't know how all of these emailers got together and decided to submit things that I'm not interested in, but I think Ghost Recon Breakpoint has some potential.
You're interested in video games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be your favorite. Like you could
Sure.
take a from an arm's length. You don't have to be personally familiar with the game and every nuance.
You like
Right.
Rainbow Six, maybe there's some
There's
something that
crossover in
can bleed
Wildlands.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, marry Ghost Recon Breakpoint, kiss Fallout 76, and
Kill
then
Anthem.
I mean, can you
Well,
kill what is already
wouldn't-
dead?
Yeah, you wouldn't give it any more content, is what it would be. Okay. How about you, Jeff Cork?
I would marry Ghost Recon because I liked the last Ghost Recon an awful lot, and I just can't bring myself to play the new one because
Have you tried since the massive update? The realism mode and stuff?
I've watched some videos on it, so the answer is no. But yeah, I want it to be good. It doesn't seem like it's quite there yet, though. But I'm marrying that one. I'll kiss Anthem, give him one last parting shot. A lot of people bought that, and then kill Fallout 76. I don't know. It's an unwinnable situation, Leo. I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, Cork, I agree. It's an interesting question. I actually liked it because I thought to myself, Ghost Recon's been getting a lot of grief lately. So I was like, move on, make another Ghost Recon. So I was kind of like, kill that one was my reasoning here. And Fallout 76, I put in the thing of look, make one more and be done with it. Let's just move on. Let's get to other Fallouts. And I thought it was interesting because I normally wouldn't have picked Anthem as my top one, but I do think Anthem's world is interesting. So between those, I would pick Anthem, oddly enough. So I thought it was interesting because I thought it, at least for me, and maybe I read this wrong, it challenged me to think about those games differently. You guys were just dismissive right away, which maybe that was my mistake, reading the room.
We didn't have the evolved big brain answer of Anthem for Mary.
I don't know that it was a big brain answer. I just read it and I was like, oh, interesting. I mean, that's all I do all morning is I read the interesting. I think we'll get interesting answers. And then I'm incredibly wrong is essentially what it comes down. It's not big brain. I'm wrong in my reading of that. So, but thank you for the question, Luke. I think it's interesting. So, here we go. This is an interesting one. So multiplayer threes, essentially. So hi, GI crew. My name is Dean, and I am a FedEx delivery guy and look forward to your podcast every week. Love the Kiss, Marry, Kill game. So here's my pick for you, looking to the future. By the way, first of all, thank you, FedEx delivery guy, Dean. That's amazing. We really appreciate what you're doing out there. Is that 3 games, they may or may not be coming, but I do think this is interesting once again. And let's see how bad I read the room this go. Battlefield Bad Company 3, Battlefront 3, or Planet Side 3. Thanks for the entertainment during this time, Dean. So, Battlefield Bad Company 3, which Battlefield Bad Company 2 is talked about many times, right? People really want them to do more with that. Battlefront 3, which I think Battlefront 2's been worked on, and a lot of people are excited about where it's at now. And then PlanetSide 3, which maybe only interests me, but it does interest me in quite a bit. I love the PlanetSide series, actually. So anyone want to step up to the plate, or are you guys, once again, Andy, you misread the room?
No, you kiss Battlefront 3, you marry Bad Company 3, and then
you
kill PlanetSide.
Sounds good. I'll have one of those.
I'd marry PlanetSide 3.
Yeah,
I like PlanetSide 2 a lot. Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with Leo. Team Leo. What's up?
And then kiss Bad Company. I like those games. And then kill Battlefront, I guess.
You hate Star Wars.
Yeah.
Do you hate Star Wars?
No.
Are you even a gamer?
I haven't liked Star Wars in a long time. I don't hate it. There's Star Wars stuff I like.
It.
Oh, sorry, Cork. I like it.
You have to love it so much.
I like it now.
Yeah.
Good argument, Cork.
Yeah. More of that.
I actually agree. I actually think these are all three great games. And PlanetSide's one that's just way different and has a unique twist on just kind of big, wide combat, and I like it a lot. So I would marry PlanetSide 3. And I honestly, Battlefront 3 is fun. I like when I play battle games, I don't want to play Star Wars battle games, so I'd probably kill that one just for that reason. But I mean, I totally get why it's an awesome game. It's just not for me. And Battlefield Bad Company 3 would be fun. I think people have been dying for them to do that, for EA to make that game for a long time. And I think that would be something that would be really cool to get out there.
It had such a cool tone, too. And they were like, what was the name of that one that was like a cop game where you're fighting the
Hardline?
Yeah,
they did that instead of Bad Company.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
You assholes.
It's from the guys who did, it's from the Dead Space guys, too. So you're like, well, maybe it'll be good, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah. Oof.
I mean, I think the thing is people like war games, right? I mean, I think people like games based around that theme in one way or another. But great question, Dean. Great Kiss, Marry, Kill. I'm glad you enjoyed the show, and thank you again for all the work you're doing out here. So this is another one. So this one follows through a little bit, which is, hey, y'all, which I love that we're getting lots of y'all. So I don't say y'all enough anymore. Hey, y'all. First off, thank you for continuing with the podcast. It's been helping me through these crazy times. Okay, so for Kiss, Marry, Kill, I thought we'd go with EA4s. Dragon Age 4 versus Dead Space 4 versus Skate 4. Keep up the great work. I'll continue watching, listening. So these, no, we don't know if these games are coming. I mean, they're obviously working on a Dragon Age. They've announced that. I don't know if they're working on a Dead Space. I think everyone wants them to be working on a Dead Space. And Skate is another one that everyone's like, don't be cowards, EA, make another Skate. So that one's been demanded a lot. So I think this is a good question. Hopefully I read the room right. So Dragon Age 4 versus Dead Space 4 versus Skate 4. Ben Reeves, what do you think?
I mean, I'd marry and kiss Dead Space if I could. So I'll definitely marry.
You can't kiss it if you marry it. Yeah, that's
it's not allowed. I've been doing it wrong. Yeah, so definitely that's out of the three, hands down the one I want the most. I love that series, and please EA, please. I'm marrying it. So anyway, and then the other two were Dragon Age and Skate, and I'd never played the Skate games, so I guess I would kill him just because out of ignorance. I like the first Dragon Age. Fine, so gets a little smooch.
Jeff Cork.
Yes. Skate 4, marry Dead Space 4, and kill Dragon Age 4.
Wow. All right. Interesting choice. So were you a big Skate fan?
Yeah, I like the Skate games. I never got into them to the degree that I thought I would.
Yeah.
But I love watching the compilation videos of just crazy stuff in it, so I want the world to continue with another Skate game. Even if I'm not playing it, people are going to have fun with it.
Yeah, it had a cool vibe.
Yeah.
Definitely a cool vibe. How about you, Leo?
Yeah, marry Skate 4. Surprising no one.
Yeah.
Really hope that happens. Kiss Dead Space 4. Kill Dragon Age. Never got into Dragon Age. But I like Dead Space a lot.
Yeah. I have a similar thing, though. I think mine's, I'm gonna choose based on. I know there's been a lot of change and stuff going on, but I think I marry Dragon Age. The series was never quite perfect for me, but there were a lot of things I liked about it, and I like those settings. So I think they could pull it off. And I'm really rooting for BioWare in this particular case to really nail it this go, because they've always had interesting ideas. They just never always quite gelled right for me. And then I would kiss Skate 4 because I'd like to see skate games come back. I miss skate games being in vogue.
We're on the cusp. Skater XL is coming out soon.
Yeah. And Skatebird.
Skatebird, right?
Skatebird.
Yeah. Game looks fun.
And by the way, I would love a new Dead Space, and I want to be clear here, but I think I'd kill Dead Space 4 just because Glenn and Michael have gone on and they're working other places, and I feel like Dead Space was a lot them, as the leadership behind that. Like they drove that as a thing. So I'm choosing that just for that reason. But if you get the band back together, and make a new Dead Space, I'd be into it as well. So
Shoot the arms and legs off the aliens. Anyone can make that. It's fun.
Yeah, but you think so? Just have the gun that you can turn sideways and rip and tear people apart, and it's good.
Yeah, it's gross.
You can rotate 90 degrees in Unity. It's really easy. It's just grab the axis and
Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Turn the gun.
Bunch of smart. All right.
Guys.
Here we go. Yeah, smart guys. This is that's Kiss Marry Kill for this episode. So I want to finish with some comments from the community. First of all, last week as a group we mocked Dan Tack about him
we should.
Yes, he said that ducks were farm animals, and we were like, I mean, yeah, they can be farmed, but they're not really like a top farm animal. And I want to let you know that the Dan Tack Duck Defense Force showed up in droves. If that's the way that ducks travel, they came and they attacked the inbox to let me know that ducks are indeed a farm animal. I have someone sent me Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, had a duck, E-I-E-I-O, with a quack quack here and a quack quack there. I think you get the idea. Thanks for the show. I look forward to it every week. Zeb.
Or was there not a quack quack there?
Did he use that tone in the email?
No, but that's the way I read it. I like that. I think you get the idea because it'd be like, here a quack, there a quack, everywhere a quack quack, right? Like, so I think that they were noticeably angry. And then another person sent in a thing that was like, contrary to your uninformed, hence y'all are not farm informers and ignorant positions, Dougs often live on farms. And he gave me a top 10 things that live on farms. Number 1, a dog. Number 2, cows.
Is this sourced?
No, it's just silliness. Everyone is like the ducks was the biggest talking point. Like, we talked about video games for like 2.5 hours. Yeah. And the biggest takeaway was that we were like, ducks aren't a farm animal. And
it's just funny that as evidence, here's my top 10 list.
No, it's a top 10. So, and I'll read that top 10, but let's take a moment here. So do you guys think ducks are a farm animal?
No, just because dogs are on a farm or they're cats on farms to like hunt varmints, that doesn't mean that they're farm animals. Like, ducks absolutely can be on a farm, but that doesn't make them a farm animal.
Well, I don't think it's okay to say some animals are farm animals. What, cows are, you'd say cows are a farm animal?
Yeah. I mean,
so they're not a real animal anymore. They're just there to be harvested?
No, okay, that's fair. That's fair, but I don't think that's the spirit. We're just saying that, like, when you talk about farm animals, you don't talk about ducks.
No.
It's true, although in Stardew Valley, I have plenty of ducks that give me delicious duck mayonnaise that nobody in town seems to like.
Yeah.
But are you farming them, or are they just incidentally there? And by the way,
they're having babies, and I'm petting them and feeding them.
Would you call a dog a farm animal?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It just feels weird to say a dog is a farm animal in my mind, even though they live there. To Cork's point,
right.
I don't think I'd go so far as to make fun of somebody for saying it. Like,
well, if a dog lives on a farm, would you say that dog is a farm animal? It's an animal that lives on a farm.
Exactly. That's why I think I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think you're saying the same thing.
But if a person lives on a farm, would you call them a farmer?
If a cow lives on its own in the Sahara Desert, is that
And
a
nobody's there to hear
farm
it move?
animal? Yeah.
I mean, a cow that's just on its own chilling out somewhere wouldn't be a farm animal, right? It would just
Right.
be cow.
There
right?
you go.
We're getting very existential here, which is kind of a crazy. So our friend here said that we were uninformed, that he was on a small dairy farm in Wisconsin. In order to defend Dan, I would like to list out the animals I saw on this dairy farm in order of appearance: dog, cows and farm cats, ducks and geese. By the way, this gets really weird. Fainting goats, llama, donkey, horse, not horses, just horse. Number 8, mini horse. 9, bunnies. 9 bunnies.
Thank you so much for that. What did you say his name was again? Doctor.
Doctor. That was Dan. That was Dan.
Farmer. That was Dan Tack?
I don't know if it was Dan Tack. It could have been Dan Tack.
Dan Tack writing in to support himself?
And maybe he's spamming my inbox or like telling all his friends to send stuff in. But there was a lot of duck talk this week. So I appreciate everyone's feedback on the duck. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe ducks are a farm animal. But given the choice again, I will say once again, in my personal opinion, ducks aren't a farm animal. There you go. Live with it.
In the movie Babe, wasn't Babe friends with a duck?
Yeah, but you can be there. We're saying you can be there without being a farm animal.
Okay.
But if we're saying that cows not on a farm are not farm animals, then it's a meaningless classification, right? A duck that's on a farm is a farm animal. If a cow that's not on a farm is not a farm animal, am I wrong?
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
If Chewbacca,
I think we have to agree to disagree on the great duck debate of 2020.
I like it. It's fun.
If Chewbacca was on Luke Skywalker's moisture farm,
honestly,
farm animal.
Humans are animals. They work on farms.
Yeah, the most dangerous game.
Most dangerous game. The most dangerous game. All right. So, you knew this was coming, by the way. What 5 video game animals are on the GI Town farm? Only real farm species allowed. Yes, it's an extra added bonus. GI Town.
Mm-hmm.
What are the 5 GI farm animals? And by the way, for this week's segment, the answer is ducks, 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 ducks.
Gray ducks.
Gray ducks.
Oh, okay.
There you go. But way to add the Minnesota spin on that. Okay, so we're not actually going to answer that, but that is funny. I like the duck stuff. The Dan Duck Defense Force cracked me up. You guys were good spirits. It was a lot of fun. 2 other comments I thought were worth mentioning was that I got a lot of comments from graphic designers who really enjoyed our talk about logos last week, which I did as well. And they actually even asked, would we spend more time discussing logos, box art, other things on the show? And I was like, man, that could be a whole nother podcast. And maybe some point we do a segment where we go through and look at some box art and kind of discuss it, what we think is good. But I think we need to do more like setup for that. But I think it'd be really interesting. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it'd be fun to do that with some people from production, some like design minds.
Video. I don't know how many people watch the video version of the podcast, but
yeah, I mean,
I would want to see the art, I guess is what I'm saying, while you talk about it, but it depends on how you talk about it. I think it'd be interesting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so too. I love that talk. And I agree. I agree with you, Leah. To get some of our designers on and talk about what stuff they liked and hear more from our kind of graphic designer video game friends out there and discuss cool design. And one of the questions too, which I don't have time to answer, but people were talking about interesting UIs in games that were designed and how we liked those. And I thought that was another interesting.
I think I is the most interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. All right. And then finally too, we did a GI Town band last week. Brought up that we had you instead of Bayonetta as the singer, which I thought was an interesting addition and an interesting take. So that was from Paul. So he says, thanks for the great show. We also had lots of great comments on the YouTube comments about the show and about how we should do things. And I really enjoy reading them. I really love your comments to the show. So podcast@gameinformer.com. Let me know what you think about the show. Let me know what you think about ducks. Please tell me about ducks. I would love to learn more about ducks.
Fun facts, anything.
Fun facts, anything. Let's go ducking crazy. That's a show. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening. Follow us. like us, hit the bell, subscribe. The show is free. We do it from our homes for now. Someday we will get back to reality. We hope that you will join us on that journey. We hope if you're out there working that you're staying safe, that you're staying well. And thank you so much for listening to the Game Informer show or watching on YouTube. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.
Bye.